Tonight on the Black Channel, we are reviewing the life and legacy of a icon, of a legend, one George Foreman. You'll see many articles out there written by many news outlets, but I think it's probably more important to go hear the official George Foreman website to review where the man came from. I'm going to read to you the biography as listed on georgeforeman.com. George Edward Foreman was born to J.D. and Nancy Foreman on January 10th, 1949 in the town of Marshall, Texas. I'm very familiar with Marshall. It's about 45 minutes outside of Shreveport, Louisiana, where I myself was born and raised. An impoverished youth, Foreman often bullied younger children and didn't like getting up early for school. Foreman became a mugger and brawler on the hard streets of Houston's 5th Ward by age 15. This is from his own website, so he's acknowledging he was in that street life young. He was on them bricks young. He was out there doing what they do young. Next thing here says, from thug to boxer, they're letting you know where he's coming from. Luckily, he was saved by the Lyndon B. Johnson Job Corps, a program developed to help disadvantaged kids, the children who had been afflicted and oppressed in the system of white supremacy, by teaching them vocational skills. Interesting. Now watch the next sentence. Foreman traveled to California, which is where he met Doc Brodus, who was a Job Corps counselor and a boxing coach. It was Brodus who encouraged Foreman to become a boxer. Once he began to train at the gym, Foreman rapidly established an impressive amateur record. The culmination of his amateur boxing career came at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, where he won a gold medal in only his 25th amateur fight. He got extra attention when he brandished an American flag after his win. So people, please understand, 1968, this man was born in the segregated South and basically was fighting out of the segregated South. And was very, very interesting that these men, those who served in the military, those who went in the Olympics, they were fighting to promote a country that had made it its goal to oppress them. And yet, if you were the fastest racehorse, well, here, you can wear this flag. But by the way, they were fighting for freedoms that they themselves did not have, and they were fighting to represent a country that was attempting to undermine them at every single possible conceivable turn. And that is the story of Foreman and Ali and Fraser and Joe Louis and everybody else you can name. So it would be incomplete to state their history without bringing that into its proper context. If you do not bring that into its proper focus, these were not equal citizens in America. These were legal aliens in America. The freed slaves in America who were very much still being treated the same. It says here he got extra attention when he brandished an American flag after his win. Quote, there was a big element of patriotism in what I did. Being in the Olympics, you couldn't help but love your country more than before, Foreman said in his autobiography by George. Quote, but I meant it in a way that was much bigger than ordinary patriotism. It was about identity, an American. That's who I was. I was waving the flag as much for myself as for the country. I was letting everyone know who I was, and at the same time saying that I was proud to be an American. We are the only people who have redefined it. We created what the idea of liberty truly is. We have been the inspiration around the entire planet. When oppressed peoples around the planet have wished to assert themselves, they don't say George Washington. They don't invoke Thomas Jefferson. They invoke us. When oppressed people around the world wish to liberate themselves, they only look to the descendants of the American slaves. They only look to us. They only invoke us. That's it. They don't invoke Rambo or Commando. They only invoke the one. because real recognizes real. It goes on here. Foreman becomes heavyweight champion. In 1969, Foreman turned professional, and within 2 years, Foreman was ranked the #1 challenger for the WBA and WBC. By 1972, Foreman had a perfect 37-0 record. 37-0. Which included 35 knockouts. Take a look at those gloves. I went looking into it, by the way. When Ali fought Frazier, they had 8-ounce gloves, was what I looked up. When Foreman fought Ali, they wore 12-ounce gloves. Do you see the size of them fists? And you can take a look at those gloves and see there's not a hell of a whole lot of protection going on there. There's not a hell of a whole lot of protection going on in those gloves. When this man sends this refrigerator-sized fist coming your way, not a whole lot of padding going on in those gloves. I mean, you can see his knuckles through those gloves. You can see that. Look out, here it comes. I want you all to understand, George Foreman, when he fought Ali, the man was 6'4", 220 pounds. He was a wrecking machine. We talk about Mike Tyson, who was shorter than Foreman was. You talk about Brock Lesnar. You talk about Francis Ngannou. But you think about George Foreman, straight out of Texas, big corn-fed, and when he walked out there, he was a wrecking machine. He wasn't the fastest puncher, which was the crazy part. He didn't have fast punches, no, but there was so much damn torque. That would be the correct word. There was so much torque behind the punches he threw. He was never this fast puncher. It looked like you could just sit up here and write your name on his glove when it was coming at you. It seemed like it was so slow, but he was never this fast puncher. But then again, he didn't have to be. It was just amazing to see how slow his punches seemed, but when it hit you, it tenderized you. I've never seen anybody whose punches seemed to telegraph so slowly, but the amount of torque that was coming off of them was enough to lift you off your feet. So in that regard, he was very different from a Tyson or a Roy Jones Jr. or James Toney, these knockout specialists who would come along later. He was very different from them in that regard. Those guys were lightning fast. Foreman was never like that. But then again, he didn't have to be. He got you over there in that corner, and that was the end. Till Ali. Foreman got his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship when he fought Joe Frazier on January 22nd, 1973 in Kingston, Jamaica. Frazier was the favorite going into the bout, but Foreman knocked him down 6 times en route to a second-round knockout. Second round. Imagine being able to knock out Joe Frazier in just 2 rounds. You got to be a hell of a man to be able to knock out Smoking Joe Frazier in just 2 rounds. That takes a hell of a man to be able to do that. An unprecedented TV audience watched Foreman become the champ before the fight was HBO Boxing's first ever broadcast. The TV audience watched Foreman become the champ because the fight was HBO Boxing's first ever broadcast. Folk been making tons of money off of us. We built these industries. We built these networks. We built these platforms. A bunch of white men who couldn't throw a punch if their life was on the line, and yet these black men built these platforms and made them stinking filthy rich to this day. So when you want to know where the seed capital came from and the foundation, how'd they make so much money so damn quickly? Foreman, that's how. They had a guaranteed blockbuster. That's how. And they've been eating good off of it ever since, while convincing you and me that we should not do that, or trying to put obstacles in our way of being able to do that. Because when they start doing these things, no regulations, no rules, do whatever you choose. You and me show up, oh, new regulation, new rule. Have you checked in with the city planning office there? Oh, do you have 5 ambulances and 3 referees? After becoming the champion, Foreman successfully defended his title twice. He beat Puerto Rican heavyweight champion Jose Roman in only 50 seconds, which at the time was the shortest heavyweight championship match ever. Foreman also beat Ken Norton, who had just beaten Muhammad Ali in a mere 2 rounds. When I tell you Foreman was a wrecking machine. Understand that. You watch the UFC and stuff today, Foreman was a wrecking machine. And we're not talking about against just little guys. He was going up against, you talk about a stacked deck, a stacked field. He was up against the biggest of the big. He was up against tested, tried. All of these were legit champions. All of these were legit icons. Wasn't no soup cans and wasn't no tomato cans around here. Wasn't no beer cans around here. Foreman was going up against everybody he was beating was either a titleist or a legitimate titleist in their own right. He wasn't knocking out contenders. He was knocking out icons. One legend after another. And you doing it in just 2 rounds? That's a hell of a man. That's a hell of a man. Says here that Foreman also beat Ken Norton, who had just beaten Muhammad Ali in a mere two rounds. Winning those 2 fights then set up one of the most famous fights in history, the Rumble in the Jungle, between Foreman and Muhammad Ali. Ali used a tactic later known as rope-a-dope to wear out Foreman, who threw hundreds of punches during the fight. Then, in the 8th round, Ali unloaded with a series of punches that knocked out Foreman and allowed Ali to regain the heavyweight championship of the world. Now, it goes on here to say that he became a minister. In 1980, he founded the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ. However, by the mid-80s, Foreman was running out of money, and people around him were advising him to close the youth and community center that he started. Foreman saw how much the center was helping people, so he was determined to do what was necessary to keep it open. So in 1987, after not fighting for almost 10 years to the day, Foreman returned to the ring. While there was no shortage of detractors, Foreman proved them all wrong when he kept piling up win after win. Foreman had won 24 consecutive fights during his comeback, including 22 by knockout. Now, at the age of 42, Foreman's success and popularity earned him a chance at the title against unbeaten Evander Holyfield. The fight went the full 12 rounds, and while Holyfield won in a decision, Foreman gained a great deal of credibility. Folks, y'all don't understand how historic that was. I was there. Many of you were there when that happened. Y'all know damn well, everybody was like, we're in uncharted waters. There's no way that this happens. Everyone was expecting Holyfield to put him away within the first 1 or 2 rounds. It didn't occur. We have never seen anything like this in sports. I didn't say boxing. We had never seen anything like this in sports before. Had never seen it. This was unprecedented. George Foreman's comeback was unprecedented in the annals of sports history, not boxing. Sports altogether. And those of us who were blessed and privileged enough to have witnessed it when it happened. Let me tell you, your kids might have fancier technology after you. They might have fancier TVs to watch it on after you. They don't know what it was like to watch it as it unfolded, to see how the world around you changed as it unfolded. They're going to see what it was like after. They don't know. They didn't see the before and then the after. But those of us who were there, it's like watching Michael Jackson's Thriller. If you were not there, you just missed it. You missed it. Foreman becomes world champion again. Couldn't help but notice, by the way, did you notice how the The lettering down there is a little bit more prominent than it is. It's all caps. Everything up here before, his name was in all caps. Only the beginnings of the words were in caps. Get down here at the bottom, Foreman becomes world champion again, all caps. He was feeling himself. He deserved to. After more than a year out of the ring, on November 5th, 1994, Foreman took on the new champ, Michael Moorer, and knocked him out in the 10th round, with the victory at the age of 45. Foreman became the oldest fighter ever to win the heavyweight crown, as well as the boxer with the most time between one world championship and the next. Now, I remember that one. Those of you who were there, you remember how the commentators at HBO and the other outlets were mocking Foreman. How many of y'all remember that? How many of y'all remember how they were mocking Foreman? I do. I remember the ridicule and the insults they were making about that. They were like, this is a joke. Why are we allowing this? If you remember that, give me the boxing glove emoji in the chat room. If you remember that, and hit the likes button for me. It's over 2,000 people in here live in just the first 16 minutes. But if you remember the way they were mocking him and insulting him and ridiculing him going into that, as old as he is, this is an insult to the sport of boxing. Why are we allowing this? This is a joke. Are we so devoid of legitimate contenders and champions that this is what we're lowered to? How many of y'all remember that? Are we so devoid of legitimate champions in competition that this is what we're lowered to? Somebody in the chat room said you have a young audience, TBA. That's why we're giving you the blow by blow on that. We were there. Take a look at all them boxing gloves in the chat room. We remember when that's what they were saying. I remember those things in specific. They were like, what's wrong? Boxing must be really screwed up if George Foreman is what we're sending out here. He's 45 years old. Not only does black not crack black, it's here to crack every damn thing else. Now, if a white man had done it, they would be cheering him. But it's like, no, you can't go out there and do that. Well, watch him. Well, watch him. With the victory at the age of 45, Foreman became the oldest fighter ever to win the heavyweight crown, as well as the boxer with the most time between one world championship and the next. Foreman gave away his titles in 1995 after defending them against Alex Schultz and refusing a rematch. Foreman ultimately retired in 1997 after compiling an amazing 76-5 career record. Now, just when you thought, how much more could the man do? He said, you know what? I've been swinging these hands all this time and putting these hands to work. Let me put this brand to work. And that's when he said, George Foreman and the Lean, Mean Grilling Machine. Quote, put your name on something, it better be the best. You only get one shot. You want to talk about diversifying. Since the early 1990s, Foreman had discovered his talent for salesmanship. And by the end of the decade, he was making millions off his appearances in infomercials, marketing the George Foreman Lean Mean Grilling Machine. To date, more than 100 million of the units have sold worldwide. Foreman also spent over a decade promoting Meineke car care centers and grew the business to over 1,000 franchises. He has now successfully launched a line of environmentally safe cleaning products, exclusive line of personal care products, a prescription shoe for diabetes to prevent amputations, a restaurant franchise called You Food Grill, 10 books, and the list continues to build. Foreman tends to his ministry at the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, where he preaches 4 times a week. He also loves spending free time with his family on his ranch in Marshall, Texas. You want to talk about 720 degrees, bringing it all full circle. That is a man whose life is an inspiration. That is a man whose life has been an inspiration. That is a man who did not talk about goodness. This is a man who lived greatness and inspires others. If you were born and raised not in the Fifth Ward of Texas, where it's gotten some shine since the Ghetto Boys and internationally known, in Marshall, Texas, most of you don't even know where Marshall is. Hit Interstate 20, you'll go through Marshall, but most of you don't even know where Marshall, Texas is, but that's where he was born and raised. Everybody talks about him being from Houston, but actually he was born and raised in Marshall. And that's where the ranch is. So no matter where you come from, even if you come from a place that nobody heard of, when you get done, everybody can hear about it. You might be from a place that nobody knows, but if you do your best and apply yourself, you're going to make sure the whole world knows where you're from. You're about to put your people on the map. You're about to put your people on the map. Those three men that you see on that screen created the modern sport of boxing. It did not exist before they came along. Boxing as a televised phenomenon lays at the feet of those three giants right there. It's not enough where you started. You had to keep carrying it. You don't get to the Mike Tyson era with video games and all. You don't get to that era if these men don't build that. Yeah, you had Jack Johnson and Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Patterson. Yeah, you had that. I get it. But what I'm saying is that you don't get to boxing being the international televised icon event where the pay-per-views are paying hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't get there without a whole squad. Not just three men, but a whole squad of bona fide built dudes who all the fights were bangers. People, boxing don't jump off if all the fights are garbage or if only half the fights are any good. When's the last time we saw a good heavyweight title fight? I'll wait. Middleweight. Even my Floyd Mayweather fans. I mean, I'm not going to kick nobody down. I'm like, Come on. When's the last time we saw a really great Floyd Mayweather fight? And I'm not saying it's even really necessarily his fault. I'm just saying, come on now. When's the last great Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight we saw? When's the last one you said, damn, that was good, I got to see that one again? When's the last time we saw that? And again, I'm not saying it's necessarily Floyd's fault, but let's just call it for what it is. Let's just call it for what it is. Come on now. So what I'm saying is that could you have ended up where Mike Tyson and them were in the 80s if the boxing scene in the 70s looked like it does today? Take a look at the boxing scene today, y'all. Take a look at what's going on today. Can you have that golden era where you go from Ali, Foreman, Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, all the way to Roy Jones? And then can you have this run that we had for that 30 years if we had the roster we got today? You take the roster we have today and put them in the 70s. What does the 80s look like if the roster we have today, remove Ali and Frazier and Foreman and put in Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, put them in the 70s? What we got by the time we get to the 80s? What are we dealing with? What does the sport look like by then? If we get there, assuming we don't go bankrupt, if we get there, what does it look like? If that's the roster we dealing with in the 70s. Yeah, I mean, if I'm exaggerating it, then you tell me how great the 80s look When, okay, it's Tyson and Anthony Joshua here. And I ain't dissing nobody. I'm saying boxing, it takes work. I'm not dissing nobody's effort. I'm just saying, hey, I'm just calling it what it is. No, when you had that 70s there, you had a damn superstar row right there. These were must-see events. Must-see. You got to see it. When Foreman had Ali in the corner and he was throwing them blows and Ali is dancing around him, what are you talking about? That's what the hell folk wanted to see. That was special. That was extraordinary. In real damn time, it's showing you he done earned, when he wins, he earned that belt. It wasn't a fluke. He earned that belt. That was the difference. When they won then, you knew they won. He earned that. Today, we don't know what's going on. Did somebody make a phone call? Did somebody show up not feeling good? Is somebody on cocaine tonight? We don't know what we dealing with. Back then, that wasn't what you had. That was not what you had back then. And that's how you get to the 80s. That's how you get to Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson. That's how you get to that run that goes all the way through the 90s to the early 2000s. That's how you get that run. But you don't get there unless you get this. And what I'm telling you is that, do you realize the dedication to that sport that you have to have for that? Do you realize the dedication you have to have to that? Please understand, these men gave their lives to that. Mike Tyson has one of the highest boxing IQs, if not the highest boxing IQ that is out there today. That's a testament to Ali and Foreman. Because you had to study them. Why? Because the next generation wanted to be better than them. And in many ways, sacrilege they were. I know it's sacrilege. But they took a look at the giants who came before them, and they did what your heirs are supposed to do. Your heirs are supposed to look at what you did and say, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to take what you did and I'm going to build on it. That's what your heirs are supposed to do. You're not supposed to begrudge them that. You're not supposed to be bitter about that. You're not supposed to be angry about that. The sons are supposed to build on what the fathers did. The sons are supposed to improve on what the fathers did. What good is it for the fathers to build something for it to stagnate? The sons are supposed to take what the father gave them, pump it through the bloodline, and produce something better for the next generation and build on that. That's what you're supposed to do. We're going to give you a little pat on the back, but it's going to be little. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to be faster than Ali. You're supposed to be more agile. You're supposed to be more powerful than Foreman. You're supposed to have more endurance than Frazier. You're supposed to do that. They were better than the generation before them, and you're supposed to take the tools they gave you and build better than the generation that they were. That's what it's supposed to be. How can any father begrudge his son improving on what he did? You're supposed to be proud that he's taken the bones you gave him and built something bigger. You're supposed to be proud that he's taken what you gave him and elevated it even higher. You're supposed to be proud of that. You're not supposed to be on the damn stage for 40 years and we got to swat you off like Sandman Sims with the cane at Showtime at the Apollo. And you've had many others that have come along after that, but they are direct beneficiaries of it. And oh yes, one more thing, let me say again, we didn't start getting the money until Frazier and Ali. One more thing. Oh yeah, we didn't really get the big money move until Frazier and Ali. That's the other part of it. boxing would not be what it is today if you didn't get real big money coming through it. And we didn't really get the big money moving internationally, not having to be the Olympics or something or connected to a world war. We didn't really get the big money moving that boxing could be this regular thing with big money is the biggest thing on the planet. We don't get that till Ali and Frazier. It's only after that that you get that. Now you've got this thing that all of a sudden, this is why young cats want to get involved when they see folks getting multi-million-dollar paydays. Well, by the time you get to Tyson, $40, $50 million paydays, Floyd Mayweather, $100 million. No, that's how you get young cats who want to get involved in that. That's how you get the boxing clubs. That's how you get the boxing coaches around the country, because it's become a major industry on its own. If you don't have numbers like that moving, you don't get to draw like that. And without those three men on that screen, you don't get here. You don't. I remember when pay-per-view started. Pay-per-view was just rock concerts. But as far as legitimate sports, it was all boxing. Nobody had to go to pay-per-view for football and baseball and basketball. When you say pay-per-view sports, you mean boxing. That's it. That was all there was. And the fights were actually worth seeing. Let me tell you, for those of you who don't remember it, you weren't there. They were events. They were events. Y'all, I don't give a damn where you were. They were events. Let me tell you something. Before the internet, listen to me. Before the internet, we knew when Tyson knocked out Spinks. We knew when Tyson knocked somebody out. I'm talking about within minutes. Within minutes. It didn't matter where it happened or whatever. These events were so big, we didn't even need the damn internet. We knew when Tyson had knocked somebody out within minutes. You knew it within minutes. The word was out. When Leonard fought Hagler, controversy that was, you knew about that when there's a reason why folks talked about that, because that was a big controversy. It still is to this day. We're always going to wonder what would have happened if Marvin Hagler had stayed in the game. We're always going to wonder that. But that was red hot. That was happening right then. We knew about it when it happened. That was how big the event was. And what I'm saying is, didn't have to have the internet or somebody still in the stream or something. I'm talking about before you had the internet, we were aware of what was happening within minutes. That's how big it was. That's how big it was everywhere. You don't have that anymore. The mystique is gone. We don't have true icons and giants like that. The mystique is gone. Today, if you do watch a boxing fight, you got one fella who may be worth watching and the other dude be like, who the hell is this? But back then, everybody wanted to see that. You saw what the hell George Foreman did. And when Ali came back after they took his belt from him for not wanting to fight in your bogus ass Vietnam War, understand something that everybody wanted to see. You want to talk about comeback. You want to talk about a comeback. Please understand that there was a nation that did not want to see that, by the way. Please understand that. Oh, everybody wants to talk about Ali and praise him today, but please understand that. They did not want Ali to win nothing. For those of you who have forgotten, they didn't want Ali to win anything. After he came back to boxing, they're like, oh, no. They didn't want him to win nothing. They wanted him to lose. So there was a whole lot more going on. There was a whole lot more emotional investment, a whole lot more cultural investment. In case you've lost sight of the chronology of the events. And then, of course, the great white hope. They always were fishing for a great white hope because boxing, as far as they were concerned, boxing was their cultural real estate. As far as white culture is concerned, they created it, they made it, it belongs to them. And at some point, they need to come back and gentrify it. And they have been on a relentless quest, like those stingy old misers who left your part of town and they waited for 8 decades to see if they can buy up the block again when everybody dies. They've been trying to creep their way back in ever since. And that's why after Ali, they were just so hoping that this dude throws a damn fluke punch. Oh, hopefully Ali is out. And not exactly. Not exactly. Here comes Sylvester Stallone to rewrite history, but not exactly. And then with George Foreman, they were so hoping that they could do it again. They were so hoping, first you had Ali and then you had Foreman. They were so hoping they could do it again. Isn't that interesting that you see that happen over and over again? Now in the modern era, we all saw Deontay Wilder knock Tyson Fury smooth slap the hell out. All of us saw Deontay Wilder knock his ass smooth slap the hell out. And I'll be damned, they come back, oh, he wasn't really knocked out. Really? The referee is damn near grabbing his arm to drag him up off of the damn canvas. That ain't knocked out? Y'all go and take a look at that. If that's not knocked out, what the hell is? How much more knocked out he got to be? Does he got to fall out the ring? Do you got to put him on a CPR machine? How much more knocked out did Tyson Fury have to be? Here, we're going to give you 20 seconds to get to your feet. 20 seconds? 20 seconds? Really? Oh, look, he's back on his feet again. Well, I'll be damned, you took a commercial break. Oh, he's back on his feet. You mean after the commercial break you took? He could have finished off a Budweiser down there on the ground. Okay, standing back up. Pray to God you don't get hit again. Okay. There goes that. Yeah, they've been trying it for a minute. They've been hoping for a minute that they could snatch that thing back. Here's the thing. Even with Tyson Fury is no Mike Tyson. Yeah, I know about the name thing. He's no Mike Tyson. He's no Roy Jones Jr. He's no Ali. No disrespect to him. No disrespect. But yeah, y'all can give him the belt, but you can't give him the prestige. You can give him the belt, but you can't give him the status. That's not going to happen. That takes time. That takes time. That takes wins. You're not going to be able to line up a significant number of challengers, and the challengers would have to have the same cachet and status that Foreman and Ali and Frazier and Tyson and Holmes did. You don't have it. You don't have, he's not going to be tested. What did he have? 1 or 2 more fights and then he lost the damn belt. You can't sit up here and put a belt on somebody and say, okay, the people gonna love you. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, he's overcome some personal demons. I get that. Give him credit for that. But we talking about in that ring. Ali had to overcome a nation. Frazier had to overcome a nation. George Foreman had to overcome a nation. And that is why I'm remembering him tonight not resting in power, but their rise to power, because it's after that. These men, the 1970s, that was when it cemented. We became the face of boxing, on our way to becoming the face of every other sport that anybody cared about. We started with boxing, and then from there next goes the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball for a minute. They've been sitting on pins and needles about hockey and golf, and they saw golf go down. It's like, even with little combination, they like, man, look here, you black enough, nigga. They're sitting on pins and needles about hockey and NASCAR. Oh, they sitting on pins and needles about hockey and NASCAR. Yeah, buddy, they sitting on pins and needles wondering how much longer will they be able to go to a NASCAR event before they see all the fellas with braids and afros. They wondering how much longer they gonna have that. First time you see a hockey player go out there with a jersey that says beast mode, that's a wrap. I'm letting y'all know right now. First time you have a black hockey player go out there with a jersey that says beast mode, it's over. There goes boxing. I wish the white ones would up here and do that. Trying to start a fight. You want to be goons? I'm like, okay, you found the right one. You found the right one. And hockey, fighting is legal? I'm like, oh man, you ain't said nothing but a thing. Let me put on some extra thermal underwear. Let me put on some extra thermal underwear and an extra sweater. Oh, fighting is legal? I'll be damned. We found just the right damn sport. Yeah, we just get tired of sitting up here slipping on the damn ice all the time. As soon as we get our feet steady, it's, oh hell, that sport gonna be jumping. I'm telling y'all right now, if we ever get our money right so the kids learn how to skate on ice, and you tell them, by the way, fighting is legal, it's, oh, world star. World star. When word gets around about that, it's like, you know, fighting is legal here. Really? Yeah, because they nerfed us over in the NBA. Oh, fighting is legal here? Are you serious? You're joking. For real? Yeah, they're just going to put you in the penalty. They're going to eject me. No, they're not. They're going to put you in the penalty box for 5 minutes. Damn, white privilege. Y'all, the very next week, they're going to make fighting illegal in boxing. I mean, in hockey. Mark my words. If you get 2 black males in boxing, if they get out there fighting and knock out 2 white men on that ice, they're going to make fighting illegal the very next week. Count on it. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. I'm not playing. If you get 2 black men in hockey and they go out there and knock out 2 white men in the middle of the damn ice on ESPN, they will make fighting illegal in hockey the very next week. They're going to say, it's too bad. Enough of that. The very next week. Trust me. Trust and believe. Soon as you see 2 white men get laid out on that ice by 2 black men, oh, that's a wrap. Rule change. Y'all know how that goes. Michael Jackson treatment. Rule change. Hey, man, we've been able to fight since the beginning. Yeah, well, we should have been allowed that in the first damn place. That's what it'll be the next week. We shouldn't have been allowed that in the first damn place. So barbaric. Next thing you know, they're going to be allowing them to go over there and fight at swimming. If there are no black swimmers, then they're going to start allowing them to fight in swimming. That's what they'll do. It'll be legal to fight folk in swimming. Just so long as we're not there. I'm trying to think of a sport that we don't really deal with, you know, it's ballroom dancing or something. It'll be legal to smack folk up over there. But anyway. These were things that we built. These are things that we made. We made them what they are. And the legacy of George Foreman is the fact of how you can recreate not just a nation, but a society and a complete world as a black man with everything stacked up against us. And it's not because of what America gave you. It's because of what we took here, because it wasn't given. George Foreman was not the first black man to be boxing in America. He wasn't. He came along a lot later. So that's not the thing. We have had to overcome this garbage the whole damn time. They're okay with black men in boxing so long as you were not dominant, so long as you didn't become the face of it, because now you would have young white kids looking up to you, Asian kids looking up to you. Do you understand that is the most valuable export you have is your culture? And they've been trying to tell you that that's American culture. No, it is not. It's the foundational culture of the freedmen. That's what it is. Because our ability to do this came from somewhere, and it wasn't the damn Job Corps, Peace Corps, or anything else. The mean streets of Houston that George Foreman was raised on, that's what built that. And I'm not talking about what they did to us. I'm talking about the spirit that fought to overcome it. You can say there was thugs or whatever. They were fighting to overcome a situation that they were placed in against their will. And their resistance against that, which I've told you is the foundational culture. We have when they say, what is y'all's culture? We have a culture of resistance. We have been placed up against impossible odds and impossible circumstances, and we have not sold out our souls or given up our identity or lost our principles or our fight in us. We have a culture of resistance. And it shines and shows in everything we do. From the colors we wear, the styles we choose. If everybody else is going left, we going right. If everybody else is going right, we going left. If everybody goes left and right, we going straight forward to back. We doing a different direction. We looking at what everybody else is doing, and we're saying, if you all are going in that direction, something wrong. We've never been afraid to be in the minority. We've never been afraid to be that. Because we understood our power. You can't be a leader in the majority. We have always been ready and willing and eager to be the trailblazer. We've never looked to other people for their cues of what they're doing. We've always said, we gonna make that. That's why we're always making new genres of music. We're never afraid to venture where nobody else is, and they're afraid to. They're holding on to convention, and we're reinventing the culture every time we turn around. Think about this for a few moments. 1 minute you're wearing zoot suits, then you got regular suits, then you got baggy pants, then you got skinny jeans. Now you're back to baggy pants again. Think about that for a few moments. Everybody goes one direction, we go the other. We had the zoot suits, they put them on, we put on regular suits. They put on regular suits, we got baggy pants. They started putting on the baggy pants, oh, skinny jeans. They started putting on skinny jeans, oh, back to baggy pants. Why do you think we keep doing that? We look around and say, hey, there's too many of you here. Just as soon as y'all start glumming on us, there's too many of you here. We recognize that as a red flag. There are too many of you here. We cannot lead when there's so many of you. Give me space. Give me room. I'm going in a different direction. You drive fast, we drive slow. You drive slow, we drive fast. But we are going to maintain our own independent spirit and identity about it. And that is how we have moved both the culture and the nation forward. America's ability to accrue $36 trillion in debt. You do understand that that's all a testament to us, correct? Because America's number one export is its culture. That's how it sells its products. That's how it manufactures that stuff. But remember, what they sell is not what they manufacture. What they sell is the brand. As Steve Jobs said, we don't sell products, you sell a feeling. You sell a feeling. You see, we were not afraid to put the swagger on it. Black men, see, you were supposed to be beat down so that you be humble. And by humble, it simply means docile. You're supposed to be Forrest Gump, afraid to speak, afraid to look up. When black men came through, we wearing whatever the hell we want to. All them fellas was always suited and booted, always had nice suits on, always looking fly. Hell, even when they didn't, when we get to the age of Mike Tyson made thuggery cool. I said it. I'm talking about in the 80s when Mike was on the come up. Mike Tyson, when he came to the ring, he was on straight gladiator chic. Mike made thuggin' cool. They called him the baddest man on the planet. He didn't come down to the ring trying to make folk happy with him. He came down to the ring stone cold killer. When he got up in that ring, he's like, I'm here on business. What'd he say? I'm in the people hurting business. And business is about to pick up. When Mike got done, thuggery was in. Mike ushered in the era of the thugs. You don't get to James Toney without Mike Tyson. Y'all know it. Shout out to James Toney. But we don't get to Tony without Tyson. It is what it is. I remember James Toney in the ring, death row. I'm saying too damn much tonight. Y'all remember James Toney in the ring, death row. They made it like that. And what I'm saying is that spread it out to other people because you see, what they tried to do, they tried to make it where the only fights that mattered was the heavyweight fights or the ones that they chose. So the cats coming up, it wasn't a whole lot of room for them to breathe. So by the time we get to James Toney and them, now it's been spread to folks really watching the fellas on the come up. So now the mid-card became a thing. The mid-card wasn't a thing till we get to the 90s. It existed, but it wasn't a thing until we get to the 90s. And that's because these other cats were spreading the field out. They were not trying to be champions. They were trying to be stars in their own right. So they weren't chasing a title. They were chasing knockouts. Do you understand what that means? That means that as far as he's concerned, he wins his title tonight if he knocks the other fella out. So that was the spirit they were coming with. He ain't worried about a belt. He's worried about a knockout tonight. That's what he came for. You can't teach somebody to value something like that. It's either in him or it ain't. It's either in him or it's not. That was for real. There were stories in there. You talk about Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. There was a story there, man. You can make a movie about that. But understand something, the story of Sugar Ray Leonard, that don't pop off without the tenacity of Roberto Duran. If Roberto Duran was a soup can and the ash can and the tomato can, the story don't matter. If Roberto Duran was from the current era, the story wouldn't matter. The story mattered because Roberto Duran was a killer. He really came to prominence in that Mike Tyson era. Well, that's why I said that they issued in the thugs. I mean, we talking about from the straight gutter. We're not talking about he just came from a rough side of the town. Roberto Duran came from the straight gutter. He came from the straight slum. No polish, no nothing. He came from the straight dirt. When he got up in there, he was fighting with all that came with him. And that's what you were up against. It's like, dude, you're going to put in the full damn day. So when you get to Sugar Ray Leonard, that's when you get Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran's like, now I can't box this guy. If I get in here trying to box him, he's going to wear me out. So he was the guy who said, you know what? If I can get in his head and get him to make this a slugfest, I can win. And he was the first person who really got in Sugar Ray Leonard's head and got him to be concerned with a knockout. So Sugar Ray Leonard's going in there trying to show that he can outslug Roberto Duran. And Duran's like, can't nobody outslug me at this weight. Can't nobody do that. And smart as it was, he got you fighting his fight. He got you fighting his fight. He got you fighting his. That was the important thing for him. He got you fighting his fight. In the chat room, I might have Anthony call up so I can give him a history lesson tonight. I might have you call up so I can give you a history lesson. Might have you call up so I can give you a history lesson. But in any case, this is how you reshape a culture. This is how you rewrite it in your image. This is how you do that. You rewrite it in your image. They told us we could not do that. That was what they thought. That was what they said. When you're going to take a culture and rewrite it in your image, when you are able to capture a story, when you are able to take these things and capture a story, that's a brand new way of seeing things. When you do this and you put it in your image, that is not just a contest. You see stories there from Philadelphia to Houston, Texas. That's a story. And that is the legacy that's been passed down to us. And that's the one that we are caretakers of to this day. We want folks to remember it's no. No, you don't get to sit up here and oppress a people and then claim, oh, they belong to you. No, they don't. No, they don't. It doesn't belong to you. It does not belong to you. You don't know where he came from. You created an environment that was meant to crush and destroy a George Foreman. They didn't create an environment that was made to nurture him. They made an environment that was intended to destroy him. Their goal was for him to end up in jail or end up at the GM plant. And that was going to be it. Story over. He was never supposed to transform that the way he did, because if one does it, next thing you know, there'll be a flood of you doing it. And that's exactly what happened. When they got done, it was a flood of them. Exactly the thing that they were afraid was going to occur. And now here it is. However, you may have more to say on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom for you all here. And I want you to go ahead and give us a call up. This is something I've never done before. I want to give you all an opportunity to call up here tonight. I'm usually not the sports section, and truthfully tonight I'm really not. But I want us to take a moment here to reflect on that. This is something I usually don't do, but I want you to take a moment. I want to take a chance here and take a moment for us to reflect on it and give me your memories and your ruminations on that. Do you remember where you were? Do you remember where you were? For those of you who were there, Rumble in the Jungle. Do you remember where you were? Ken Norton. Do you remember where you were? Holyfield. Do you remember where you were? Michael Moore. Do you remember where you were? What was the effect it had on you? Are you from Marshall, Texas? Are your people from Marshall, Texas? And Marshall, Texas wants to hold up George Foreman as their icon there. But do you respect the man and what he's done? Despite the environment that you had him in, if we don't put that in its proper context and its proper focus, everything else is lost. So I'm going to do something I usually don't do. I'm going to give you all an opportunity to give up a call up. If you have ruminations about that, if you have memories about that, if you want to sign off about the significance about that, where were you? What effect did it have on you? How did it contribute to your life? The link is pinned to the top of the chat room there, and you are more than welcome to give us a call here tonight. I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who's contributed for a nice program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Nancy King, Rise and Power George Foreman. Thank you very much for your support tonight, sister. We appreciate that. Fats Man, thank you very much for your support here tonight as well. We appreciate that. Also to my man, Mr. Richburg, thank you very much, sir. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we will see about taking a few calls from you and more. This is the Black Channel.
If you visit Mr. B, mybetheteacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to...
Times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2
Now swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the daddy divides as the father and guide. Mommy multiplies and shares on what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrBTheTeacher.com.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snakes and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to give you all a chance here to sign off here tonight. We're talking about the passing of George Foreman. George Foreman here, who left an indelible mark not just on the culture but on the world, and showed the greatness of our people as we rose from the shackles of slavery in America, and unlike anybody else excelled at a level that was never meant to happen. It wasn't capitalism that did it. Capitalism did not allow that. You had a bunch of other folks here operating in the system of capitalism, and they didn't do what we did. Let's be very clear about that. You had a whole bunch of folks here in quote, the system of capitalism, but they didn't do what we did. They don't have a George Foreman, a Frazier, and Ali. They don't have a string of them running like that. They don't have that. There's a reason for that. Because there is a specific special heart and a specific special character that we brought to that. We had something to prove that the rest of them didn't. We had something in us that the rest of them didn't. We had a connection to the soil that the rest of them didn't. That's the difference. And this is why we have set a pattern that the rest of them are not going to be able to follow, because it ain't in you. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. We got Brother Elijah up here on Zoom. Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, big brother Jason, and B1 to you and the family. Hey, brother, before I say what I'm going to say, look, this is this, like you do so many others, this is an excellent remembrance for one of our FBA heroes because this, like how you, like I'll quote you, life is short, and when we're losing so many of our icons, and then the hurtful part is they're not getting replaced. And I wish we can get back to that and everything like that. I didn't know the deep story of George Foreman. And speaking of Mike Tyson and how George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, and the late great George Frazier. A lot of people don't know this, but that fight he had with what's that? I believe Leon Spinks in 1988. I think it was Larry Holmes, one of them. He had a fight. That fight was actually dedicated to Muhammad Ali. He beat Larry Holmes in revenge for what Larry Holmes did to Muhammad Ali 10 years prior, taking the title from Ali and everything like that. And I found it fitting that we don't even see no more. We don't even know who the heavyweight champion is anymore because they don't promote that. And speaking of, please,
I'll let you finish your sentence, but I take exception to what you just said. But go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Please excuse me. I don't know. You understand? I don't know.
No. I mean, you're entitled to your perspective on it. I mean, I don't think you can't be, quote, wrong for your perspective. But that's what I'm saying. I kind of take exception to that. But go ahead and finish your sentence.
Yeah. What you was dropping, even with the with the Floyd Mayweather, those fights was okay. I'm not taking nothing from the great Floyd Mayweather, excellent businessman. But when I would look at his fights, it was not, for me, it was not a must-see. Like, my era is the Tyson era. You had to go and see that. That was the talk of the town. This whole him fighting Pacquiao and all this, it just didn't hit the same. But please, brother, drop your knowledge on me.
The statement that you used was that we don't have those kind of men today here. And you said, I don't know if it's because they're not being marketed or promoted the right way. Right. I think we got the most promoted boxing fights we've ever had. I mean, what is missing from them? The issue isn't that people don't know about the fight. That's not the issue. The issue is people are not inspired to want to see it. The WWE, of course, in professional wrestling, it's scripted or whatever, but they understand, even in the scriptedness of it, that what draws people in is not the fight, it's the story behind it. There was a story behind the Rumble in the Jungle. There was a story behind the Thriller in Manila.
Yes, sir.
Joe Louis, Max Schmeling, it was a story behind that fight. There was a story behind that. Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, there was a story behind it. Evander Holyfield, George Foreman, there was a story behind that. So people were emotionally invested in it.
Yes, sir.
So obviously, and also they were also great fighters as well. But what I'm saying is that you didn't just show up and they say, hey, this guy here is fighting this guy here. Show up tonight, 8 p.m. That wasn't what it was.
Right.
So you can't microwave a heavyweight fight. You can't microwave a boxing event. You can't do that. There's got to be a story. Otherwise, it's just two drunks in the parking lot fighting. Right. So if there's not a story for the people to be invested in, there's no reason to buy the ticket. They'll just watch the news to find out what the result was next day. And that's what you see happening when people are not invested. Folks were invested in the Wilder Fury fight because we've been watching Wilder already, and they were invested in Wilder Fury 2, even though you had a bad feeling about it if you were a Wilder fan. So that was a different thing. When you talk about Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, there was a story behind that. Yes, Ricardo Mayorga and Sugar Shane Mosley, there was a story behind that. I can go down the list. Zab Judah, we can go down the list, y'all. But I'm just saying, the great fights with them, you remember, there was a story behind that, man. Yes, and sir. We don't have that. They just want to put on a damn fight and throw it in the microwave like popcorn. And all right, join us tonight at 7 and you don't have anything to promote. There was a reason why folks wanted to see the Mayweather-McGregor fight. There was a story, but the story didn't start with Mayweather.
Right.
Remember, the story didn't start with Mayweather.
It started with McGregor.
The story started with McGregor because he was the biggest name in MMA, and he's like, hey, we ain't getting paid right. They getting $100 million for my damn fight, and I'm walking away with $5-6 million. No, we can do better than this. And he's like, hey, I'll go to boxing. I bet you I can take Mayweather. And all Mayweather had to do was be game to take up the event. But in all honesty, McGregor was the one pushing events, and Floyd was the one who made the events, did what he always does. Mayweather can make anything big. So it's like, okay, this was an exhibition. This was special. It was different. And you didn't really believe that Mayweather was going to say yes, and then he did. So that was what made it special. That's what made it different. There was a story. It took time. It wasn't like you had a 90-day notice and here's a heavyweight fight or a boxing fight. It took time to make that happen. People said this was never going to occur. You won't be able to pull it off. So what I'm saying is there was a story. It had time to gain and build relevance. That's how you sell $100 million in tickets. You don't sell $100 million in tickets in a random weekend. That $100 million in tickets is the result of the last 1 or 2 years of anticipation and building it up. So the marketing and promotion isn't the issue. People are not inspired by the folk they pushing out there today.
Right. I got a follow-up question. Didn't what you just said about Mayweather and McGregor, didn't, if I'm correct, you probably know more about this than I do. Didn't Floyd Mayweather come out of retirement for that fight? I think his first retirement, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had to come out for that one there because he was done after that point. It was everybody was upset. It's a money grab. All fights are money grab. What the hell are you talking about? Every boxing fight's a damn money grab. So look, they came with the bag. His name is Money Mayweather. They came with the bag. Okay, let me put these gloves back on right quick. So let me go grab this $100 million and get this. Let me get this glove right. Y'all think it's gonna be a fight? It really ain't. And I told everybody, I said, they say, oh, it was rigged. Well, in one sense, it was, because the bottom line is, I told everybody before, Mayweather has been given instructions by Showtime or whoever it was don't knock him out in the first round because we need to re-air the fight.
Right.
And if you go knock him out in the first round, the money gonna get cut short because you did it so quickly. So if the fight isn't even competitive, no one's gonna want to reorder it. So at least make the fight look competitive. At least take him 5 or 6 rounds before you do him. And that was what Mayweather did. When y'all saw was that 4th round when he looked like he was breathing real hard, then he looks up at the camera and smiles. And this was, he's dragging it out. They told, don't just go knock him out. Drag this on out so we can say, hey, look, we in the boxing business. We're not in the fight. We're in the boxing business. Brother, you're going to bring the money down if you just knock him out in first round. Yes, you can do it, but you'll get paid more if you stretch it out so we can re-air it. Okay, and then did you see how, I'm calling out white America, how many white folk were angry at the end of the fight when Mayweather is hugging McGregor? Because McGregor was I'm here for the bag, damn it.
Right.
I'm here for the bag. And he got together with somebody who was there for the bag. I'm not fighting Mayweather, I'm fighting the folk in the audience. And I beat the folks in the audience.
Right.
And that's what it's supposed to be. So do you realize how many white men over the last 4 decades have made money in boxing by executing it the way we gave it to them? Before, they were worried about pugilism and all this old English, stuff there. We were the ones who created good guys and bad guys. We were the ones who did that. We played that Mike Tyson was the thug. He was the bad guy every damn time. Next thing you know, he became the nigga you love to hate.
Right.
And then he was the one you love to love. It's like, watch him go beat the brakes off this dude tonight. That's not supposed to be like that. What Mike Tyson? I want to eat his heart. I want to eat his kids. I'm burning down the house, damn it. And everybody cheering him on. We didn't have that before Tyson. Yeah, you had dudes like Ali. He did his rhymes and stuff like that, but you didn't have somebody who was just talking straight trash the whole time. Till you get to that, then that becomes the thing to do. You don't get Ricardo Mayorga till you get to that. and the others who came after that. They don't get there without that. So that was what changed in that regard. That was what changed. So you had, for lack of a better term, now you had characters.
Right.
For lack of a better term. Now you had characters. Because it didn't matter how, quote, nice of a guy. Y'all remember, what was his name? Bruno. Oh, y'all remember when Tyson fought Bruno? Tyson is a thug.
Yeah,
Tyson is a thug. He's not the person. He's a thug. I'm like, Tyson got up in there and thugged the hell out of him. That's what Tyson did. Tyson said, oh, I'm bringing that thuggery today. Here, hold this uppercut. Matter of fact, hold these other three. We going straight thuggery. You damn right. We sure is. And what I'm saying is that was his thing. Tyson was all gas, no brake. And that's what it was. That's what it was. So I'm saying that was a difference. You didn't have anything like that in the 60s and 70s. The white fighters never would have done that. Ever. If they couldn't be, quote, the good guy, they wasn't doing it. So we were the ones who made it possible. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. was just the ultimate expression of that. That you could just be the bad guy and the antagonist the whole damn time and still win. Like he was like Ric Flair in real life of boxing. You can be the bad guy the whole damn time and win. That you never did that before. You never had the courage to do it before we showed up. That's the part that's missing. There's no story. There are no characters. Who are you invested in? Tell me the last heavyweight fight that you all were truly invested in one of the fighters. Name him. Anthony Joshua? Mike Tyson Fury? The Russian who beat him? Who?
You're right.
You were invested. Hagler, Leonard, you were invested in that. Jones, Tony, you were invested in that. Tyson Bowe, you were invested in that. You're not invested in the damn thing today. You don't know who they are. You can't follow them. You don't know who got the belt. You don't know anything.
Right.
You know who the fighters are, but you know there's a fight coming. You're like, who the hell's fighting? Why are they fighting? Why should I care? And that's where you at today. This is where you are.
I want to add to your point. 2 weeks ago, I'm not changing the subject.
Well, let me give you one more thing here before you go to 2 weeks ago.
Please.
Y'all, remember Ali used to talk to Cosell all the time, remember?
Right.
Ali used to give interviews. Tell me the last Tyson Fury interview you saw. The last Anthony Joshua interview you saw. The last Deontay Wilder interview you saw. Tell me. You know, where they're sitting down and communicating and talking and answering questions. When's the last time you saw that? No. Brother, that's not marketing and promotion. You just don't know who this fella is. He's not taking any time to get you invested in him. Conor McGregor at least stopped long enough to explain to you what his grievance was.
Right.
These fellas ain't even telling you why you should want to see it. Hey, I'm fighting in August. Buy a ticket. So I just wanted to throw that in there. At least you used to see interviews where they talk to you. Now you don't even have that. It's just buy a ticket and hope for the best.
Right. No, I'm not changing the subject because this is a beautiful remembrance and dedication to our late great brother, Mr. Foreman. But 2 weeks ago, and this popped in my head, and I remembered because this person, speaking of the devil, has a long history of disrespecting our icons. And just 2 weeks ago, you was talking about dumbass Hughley. I meant DL Hughley. Okay, him and his unfunny jokes. I'll never forget when I used to listen to his broadcast years ago. This was prior to me finding the new black media. I'll never forget the around the inauguration of Trump's first term, and George Foreman, the late great George Foreman, yeah, he endorsed Trump, and I believe he took a picture. DL with his Democrat shilling at the time, which I didn't know it at the time, but when I used to listen to him, he disrespected George Foreman and said that's okay that he endorsed Donald Trump because he got knocked out so much that he had to invent a grill. And I was like, and I didn't think nothing of it, but now that you broke down the story, and then now what we saw 2 weeks ago, why he lost so much credibility and so much respect, I see what you was talking about. That man has a long history of disrespecting our icons just so he can
Well, look, I mean,
Please,
at
go
this
ahead.
point right now, DL ain't got nothing to lose. I mean, it's not like he can lose any more support. It's not like he can lose any more status. He's a laughing stock. He made a complete ass of himself with this Vlad TV thing. So at this point, brother, it ain't going to hurt him. I mean, DL could come out tomorrow, you know, wearing Nazi swastikas. It couldn't hurt him. Not at this point. It's nothing he does. D.L. Hughley, in the words of Keith Olbermann, he has become worse than a scandal. He's become a punchline. Nobody, you used to be able to quote him and kind of take it seriously or whatever. Now, nobody takes anything he says seriously. So he's no longer a comedian. He has become the joke. That's the issue. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if I can get Jacob up here. All right, we got Jacob up here on Zoom. Unmute yourself, sir. All right, there you go. What's on your mind?
How's it going, Jason?
All right, brother.
Big fan. Yeah. So to answer your first question about where we were, with regard to George Foreman, my earliest memory with George Foreman was when he came back in '94. I was about, I'm pretty sure I was in first grade when that happened. So, and I remember my uncles and all the male relatives in my family just gushing about it. I mean, it had never been done before. Somebody reclaiming the title in their mid-40s. I mean, I think it was kind of unprecedented at the time.
I mean, it wasn't just recovering the title, it was fighting. Please remember, the big scandal was not about whether or not he'd win. The big scandal was, should he even be allowed? I was there. The big scandal they were having in sports, and should he even be allowed to compete? This is going to make a mockery of it, and this, that, and the other. That's what they were saying. So the big thing, should he even be allowed? He's going to make the sport look bad. It's a fait accompli. How can he compete? This is just a mockery. That's what they were saying. I remember that succinctly. I'm like, okay. And I've never forgotten that the issue there was, should he even be allowed to fight? So they were basically assuming he ain't going to win no belt. So yeah, he shouldn't even be allowed to do it.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think he made his comeback announcement in '88, and I think it took him like close to 7 years, right, to reclaim the title.
Well, I don't remember when he made an announcement about it there. You know, it says from his autobiography there that he did come back in 1987.
87.
So he returned to the ring in 87. So between 87 and 94. So yeah, 7 years. So it's 87, 94. Look, he came up the hard way. He had to walk it down. He didn't just come back out of nowhere and was handed a title bout. That's the whole thing that makes the story there. It would be different if it would be an exhibition fight if he just came out of retirement and was immediately given a title fight. You know, like they did with Brock Lesnar when he went to the UFC. But, you know, it would be different if that's what occurred. It wasn't. He had to earn his way to get there. He had to earn his way to get there. He had to earn it the first time. He had to earn it the second time. They didn't just give it to him. He earned his damn way there. That's the difference. So that's why his win is so legitimate. It'd be different if he fought one fight and then they give him the title fight. That wasn't what happened.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually had a follow-up, and this is all the way off topic, but this is definitely something that is worth bringing up, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually your main topic of conversation for tomorrow's live stream. But two young black babies, but twins who were found dead in I believe Georgia, the Lewis twins. You know, there's obviously been a huge outcry about it because the authorities deemed it to be a murder-suicide, which the family promptly rejected, and much of a populace is promptly rejecting. And right now, there's a small kind of grassroots kind of push to get answers from the authorities. And I just kind of wanted to share with the family a phone number that was shared with me that I've actually been calling for the last couple of days.
Okay, well, I don't want to just give out random numbers. So what exactly is it you want?
Oh no, I just want to really kind of bring awareness to to this case because, because we're talking about two 19-year-old twins. They were on their way
we're aware of the case there in Georgia. And like I say, definitely there was a firefighter who they've arrested because he was giving out pictures of it and other obscene things because this is what they do. Definitely the reason I haven't said much about it was because I'm still waiting for some more information in that regard. There are a few more things, and I don't want to get into speculation about stuff. There's a few more things I'm looking for because I'm trying to look for the timeline right before it. And there are some events and things that are missing. And that's the part I'm really trying to look at there because, like I say, I mean, it definitely doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't. You don't hear about that kind of thing. Why would that occur? If you're going to say that, then there should be something. If you're going to call it murder-suicide, you should have something substantiated. And that part there is missing. So if the authorities know something, they haven't disclosed it. So if they have something to substantiate it, they sure as hell haven't disclosed it. We know how they do with us. Ever since the Atlanta child murders in Georgia, black folk turn up dead. Oh, well, you gone. Ahmaud Arbery, oh, well, they're very quick to show that the race war is on as far as they're concerned. So you don't really trust them to do a robust investigation into things. If you're dead, they're like, oh, good, saves us a whole bunch of time for us to do it ourselves. So there are missing pieces where that's involved. But also, I'm just going to be honest, until that timeline is firmed up a bit more, because question of questions is, by the way, how'd they get there?
Right, exactly.
Question of questions, how did they get there? So I'm not a person who just jumps on things, especially when I've got questions I haven't seen answered, because I'm not going to lie, there's some things right there I got questions about. I have questions about some things about what it is the authorities actually know.
Right.
So without me going too far into it, there have been some cases where they love to get black folk to sit up here and be reactionary and to come jumping out the window and start railing accusations, and then bam-o, the white supremacists come later and say, oh, we got the proof that it was exactly what we said it was, because they're withholding information. And I feel like that's what's going on now. I think they're withholding information that may clarify things and that there's a reason that they're doing it, and it's not good. But I think that they're withholding information. So until either they release that or we're able to piece it together on our own, I'm just going to advise people, absolutely, we need to stay on them, that no matter what occurred, they should be required to say everything that they're knowing. But you're not really going to have any answers until you firmly solidify how did they get up there. Until you can definitively answer that, I'm just going to advise everybody, be measured in what you say, because I think these folks want us to take a firm position so they can come along later and try to make a fool of everybody. So, because like I say, I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm not saying that. What I'm going to say, though, is one possible scenario would be if somebody they knew took them up there. And I'm not saying that that's what occurred. But if the authorities knew that, and they're in their era of Trump thing and whatnot, then they might want to get a whole bunch of folk to go in one direction, so they can say, see, this is what happens when you all get ventilated, standing up for these dead black kids. In the future, if we tell you that that's what it is, then you should just go along with it. So I'm going to advise everybody here, yes, stay on their backs, stay on their bumpers, demand answers here. Do not take the murder-suicide thing until they can show you proof that is a plausible explanation. Other than that, do not accept it, but also be very measured in that regard. Because here's the thing, we don't know these folk. It's not like these are your family and friends. Certainly, your heart goes out to the family. You don't know them. You don't know what was going on. So be measured in that regard. Be measured in that regard. Well, all we know for certain is the two kids are dead. We know that. But that doesn't mean you can vouch for the family just yet. So let's get some more information. Because like I said, I don't want to get too deep off into that. Maybe I'll say something about it tomorrow, but I got questions about how they got up there. And until I get answers on that, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to really go hard till I get something firmed up on that. Because There's 3 scenarios by which they get up there, and 2 of them are not good.
No, completely understood. And yeah, and just kind of piggyback off what you said. To kind of go with the philosophy you yourself, Professor Black Truth, and Tariq Nasheed kind of have espoused. It's always important to kind of wait and see how the family reacts and what their actions are before kind of following suit. So
yeah, I don't want to cast aspersions, which is why I'm being deliberately vague right now, because I don't want to cast aspersions on anything. I'm just going to say I got questions, and until I get some specifics on it, I'm not going to take a position one way or the other until those questions are addressed, because I got a feeling some folks may be up to something. Thank you very much. Give us a call tonight. Let me go ahead and see if we can get back on subject about this here tonight. We're talking about George Foreman. We're talking about Foreman here tonight, so if y'all want to talk about something else, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. But tonight, we want to talk about George Foreman. Do you remember where you were? Do you remember what you were doing? What impact has it had on you? What do you remember? How are things today? Is it ever going to be the same? These are your questions. Let me go ahead and see if I can get my man Onan up here. Let me get my man Onan from Queens up here. Let me go ahead and get my man Onan from Queens up here. I don't know, Onan, put down your OnlyFans. What are you doing? All right, Onan, what's on your mind, brother?
All right. So I wanted to give a big rest in peace to the legendary George Foreman. I would say probably the biggest feat that I had ever seen in any sporting event is when he had beaten Michael Moore to win back the heavyweight championship at 45 years old. 45 years old. I mean, you just can't overestimate the significance of that. And, this was a man that was led by his faith. And, I'll be honest, as someone who, I didn't always believe in God, but people like George Foreman really helped me come back to my faith. And I just remember his second run throughout the late 80s and early 90s when, he was basically like, you could do whatever you want to do if you put your mind to it. So it's like, what can you do but respect something like that? If you look at where he came from in the 5th Ward in Houston, and he got a lot of his tutelage from Sonny Liston. Rest in peace to Sonny Liston. That's another legend. But Foreman was like an upgrade to Sonny Liston. And they
learned from that. They learned from that. That's what I'm saying. Successive generations, you had a guy like Foreman. He was, this big walking cinder block, getting out there. I mean, fighting him was like fighting a stone column. He was just real solid. So yeah, that's a very good analogy between him and Sonny Liston. Some of those big, heavy power punchers like that. They weren't fast, but they were incredibly powerful. So that's a very astute comparison you make.
Yeah. If you look at Sonny Liston, man, he was like the first real big behemoth in boxing. He was around 215 when he came into the game. And, a lot of the guys under him, you didn't really have a heavyweight champion over 200 pounds. So, Sonny Liston, he kind of revolutionized the game. And then he passed on a lot of his energies to George Foreman. George Foreman, like the way that he boxed, it was a lot of wrestling techniques. Like he would maneuver, he would kind of like frame off of the opponent, like kind of keeping a distance, similar to how they do in wrestling. A lot of like, manipulating with the jab and, keeping the distance, framing off the shoulders and all that. But I remember, that fight against Michael Moore and then the one with Joe Frazier. That's another one, God rest his soul. But that first one with Joe Frazier, man, that was brutal. That was the first fight that I had seen from George Foreman. And I was like, whoa. The famous Howard Cosell, down goes Frazier.
Yeah, it was different. It wasn't like Muhammad Ali or Tyson where, Foreman wasn't one of these dudes who jumped around, He wasn't light on his feet. That's what I mean. Foreman was not light on his feet. He wasn't that dude. So Foreman, Holmes, Liston, that wasn't really the light on their feet dudes. Ali was light on his feet. Tyson, Foreman was not
Yeah.
like that. So when you saw them kind of fights, the real thing about it was different back then because they was going to bang. It wasn't going to be a bunch of jumping around going on.
Yeah, this is a fact, man. This is a fact. See, Muhammad Ali, he was like a heavyweight Sugar. He was like a heavyweight Sugar Ray Robinson. You know, Sugar Ray. You know, my man was like he was almost like a jazz composer. You know what I mean? He was like a ballerina that could just happen to fight. He had some of the best footwork in the game. You know, but George Foreman, you know, he was like a tank. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of slow, but you know, if he hit you with one of them hands, man, it was over.
That was his whole thing. Like when he fought Moore, you know, he really was manhandling Moore. You know, he kept maneuvering him. He getting where he wanted. He really was doing a lot of pushing. By the way, if you go take a look at the fight, he was doing a lot of pushing on Moore. He wasn't jumping around with him. He was doing a lot of bullying. So he would get him over in the corner. He was trying to stop him from moving. That was the whole thing. He did not want that to be a fight where he's against somebody stinging like a butterfly, floating like a bee, or float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He was trying to prevent that from occurring so that he could make this a power thing. He was really doing a lot of wrestling on him, a lot of leaning on him. He was keeping him from running around. And he's like, eventually I'm going to get you in position and get you right where I want you. And that's exactly what he did. So he forced Moore to fight his fight. Even if he had to infringe on the rules a little bit, he forced Moore to fight his fight.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Just I'm gonna leave it there, man. Rest in peace to George Foreman, man, and God bless you, Jason. B1, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, like I say, that's what you learn. I mean, Tyson Fury, I said when they had the rematch with Deontay Wilder, I said he's going to make Deontay fight his fight. He's not going to be a fighter. He's going to be a boxer. Deontay's a better fighter. Tyson Fury's a better boxer. He's going to make Deontay box. He's not going to let him fight. He's not going to let him fight. He's not going to let you get that right hand off that steam hammer. He's not going to let you do it. He's going to make you box. And that's what he did. Roberto Duran got Sugar Ray off his game. Next thing you know, you're out there trying to slugfest, and here comes Roberto Duran. You ain't going to stop him. When they meet back up again, we going to box this time. We ain't brawling. We boxing. Couldn't touch him after that. You're going to fight my fight. You're going to fight mine. George Foreman, Moore, you're going to fight my fight. That stuff is not going to be like Evander Holyfield and nobody else. You're going to fight my fight. And that's smart. That's boxing. That's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, you might have this really powerful right hand and left hand. Sure, I mean, you can do that. The only problem is now you're going to become predictable. The problem for Tyson Fury was that everybody knew he was a one-trick pony. Now, it was a hell of a trick, but everybody knew it was a one-trick pony. Everybody knew that. So once they start training for it, that was it. The problem for Deontay Wilder was people started training for it. The first guys just walked in. That tells you how bad this era was. Is a bunch of people knew that's what he had, and their damn coaches weren't training them to deal with the most basic flaw of any boxer when he's just got one hellified thing he can do. He's just got a hell of a hook, or he's got a hell of an uppercut, or a hell of a jab, or a hell of a cross. That's the most basic thing coaches are supposed to teach for. It's like, hey, this guy's a one-trick pony. Here's how you counter that. That's when you're dealing with a southpaw. It's like, okay, his right's kind of weak. His left is terrifying, but that means that the problem with being a southpaw is the left is terrifying, but your right is weak, and your left isn't really as coordinated as it probably would be if you were right-handed. So they train you how to deal with that particular weakness. Danny Vasquez said a lot of trainers are incompetent and don't care for their fighters. I mean, look, it's not like it was. You don't have custom. I'm not going to say we don't have great trainers out there, because you do. Tyson Fury had a hold of a couple, didn't he? You know, Deontay didn't want to train with Mayweather. Mayweather offered to train him. Deontay, he had other ideas. Mayweather was seeing what I saw. Y'all remember I mentioned it before. Mayweather said, hey, man, these are basics you ain't got. These are basics you don't have. You're going to walk back out there against Fury. Fury is being trained on the basics. You're missing basic stuff. Basic stuff. And he walked back out there and got a master class in basics. But that's what the trainers are supposed to teach you for. So everybody before Fury, that's what you need to be asking questions about. How did the rest of y'all get knocked out? Knowing that he's only got that right hand. How did the rest of you get knocked out? When y'all knew it too. There wasn't anything Tyson Fury knew the rest of you didn't know. And he got his ass knocked out the first time too, by the way. That tells you something else. He got his ass knocked out too. So this is the era we're in. People, do you think that Cus D'Amato ever would have lost, that Tyson ever would have lost, I'm talking about Mike Tyson, would he ever have lost that fight to Deontay Wilder? Do y'all think for a moment that Cus D'Amato would have broke that down in 10 minutes? He'd have been yelling and cussing at Mike Tyson if Tyson had allowed Deontay Wilder to get one right hand on him. Could you imagine Cus D'Amato not being able to destroy Deontay Wilder in one round? That would have been an embarrassment on Cus D'Amato. That simply never could have happened. It just never could have occurred. Except in this era. In this era, damn it. Try to get away from it. So Deontay could have had a damn comeback in this era. Folks seeing that damn right hand coming. He got a damn billboard over his head. The right gonna get you. And still winning. So that's where we at today. This is where we are. Then you wonder why the icons are back in the 70s and 80s. Then you wonder why the icons are back in the 70s and 80s. All right, let me get, who is this? Jesse here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Jesse? Speak. Oh, Lord, y'all. Dudes on my phone looking like Notorious Big with glasses on. Sir, is you gonna talk?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. If you speak, we'll hear you. I promise.
Yeah?
Yes.
No, I want to say rest in peace to George Foreman. He's one of my biggest inspirations, also with Ali. Sorry for my English. I'm from the Netherlands. The thing with this new era of boxing, the technique is really not being taught, like the defense and the counters. And these new reporters, these white reporters, were literally trying to tell us that this new era would last in this era. But we know damn well that would never happen. George Foreman, Ali would have destroyed today's era.
No, Foreman would have beat Tyson Fury. He would have beat Tyson Fury in 3-4 rounds. Foreman in his prime, Tyson Fury in his prime, ain't no contest.
Yeah, literally, the last era, the 90s, the 70s, and the 60s would literally eat today's era.
Oh, Lennox Lewis.
In the first round.
Lennox Lewis? Lennox Lewis would be champion today if he was fighting.
Yeah, he would have beat Anthony Joshua in a few rounds because yes, they have talent today, but they don't have these flaws like going to the body or like waiting for countering these devastating punches. They just stand there, they get hit and they freeze and they duck. And that's the problem with today's heavyweight or like boxing in general. There are too many boxing trainers, but not too many boxing teachers like back in the day, like Cus D'Amato. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a different era in that regard. That's the issue. I don't think it's because folks are not physically capable. They don't have the caliber or quality of teacher. That's the part that's missing. I guess everybody's starting internet companies or something. So thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, dude, look here. I mean, pretty much grab any champion from the 90s, man. Grab anybody from the 90s, Holyfield. Hell, Buster Douglas. I said it. Name anybody you want to there. Oliver McCall. I know I'm about to upset a whole bunch of damn people. Jason, did you say Oliver McCall? I damn sure did. I bet you Oliver McCall would at least be game against Deontay Wilder today. Based on what I seen. If it's just going to be a slugfest, come on now. Razor Ruddock. Y'all remember Donovan? Donovan Ruddock? Yeah, dude. What I see out there today, oh, yeah, they sure would be competitive. They damn sure would. They damn sure would. It's not about their physical ability. Who the hell's training them? I don't know who is. Folks got to go back and go find trainers to have a championship bout. What era we in? All right, we got Antonio here on Zoom. Antonio, what's on your mind?
What's going on with you, Jason Black? How you doing today, brother?
All right, brother, what's on your mind?
Well, I was first piece to the space, man. I was calling just to, give my condolences and kind of, help celebrate Big George Foreman's life. I can remember being a little kid and George Foreman fighting Michael Moore was that's the last fight I actually watched with my grandmother. I can remember when he hit him and he caught him. She was like, he got knocked out by an old man. She was screaming that. It was just, it was just like, it was a big family thing. And so, of course, boxing is a culturally, Black American. That's a big pastime for us. Also, I wanted to say, because you did say it, though, Tyson Fury actually got knocked out in that first fight. That ref just gave him a real long, slow-ass count. One! So, I'm just enjoying the space today, man, that you're talking about Big George and of course, some of the other more serious issues. I just kind of got in there
the referee gave him a NASA countdown is what he gave him. It was a rocket countdown he gave him. Right. It was nigga, you could have crossed the street 3 damn times before the man said that. So he was just, you sure you don't want to get up? Right. So this is the era we in today, bro. And what I'm saying is that think about this for a few moments. And that's who's training these people, man. Who's training the referees? Who's training the fighters today, man?
Well, okay. So I'll say this: you got a couple of cats like my guy from Philly, Boots Ennis is crazy. His dad trained him, but you got the ones who's kind of been brought up as children that they outshine everybody else who kind of gets into it, and then you got people getting trained by people that don't necessarily know a lot about boxing today. But I'll say this: boxing, as far as a Black American culture sport, we still kind of, it's still strong. It's just we gotta. And for Deontay Wilder's in his defense, Deontay Wilder didn't start boxing until he was like 18 or 19 years old. He was 18, he started boxing. 19, he had the bronze medal. So that dude is a Black.
Well, no,
American
look, he was a
icon.
late bloomer. He came into the sport. I want to say he played football and then he moved over into boxing.
Basketball.
Okay, he moved over into basketball. We'll move over into boxing, and that's cool. I understand that. I get that. This is the sport you in. You're a one-trick pony. So I don't care how you got in here, how you train. Hey, there's a huge deficiency. You're incredibly gifted as a puncher with the right hand, but it's called fighting, but it's actually named boxing, and you're not boxing. And you're going to lose because there's going to be a boxer who comes in here. And it's like with MMA. The reason why boxers can't win in MMA is because boxing doesn't allow you to tackle people. MMA does. Okay, if you having a street fight, you're trying to keep distance. Okay, but in boxing, you can go hug niggas. In boxing, you can smother them. So how do you get off that right cross or a right hook when Fury can sit up here and smother it? He can press you. He can grab you like that. How do you do that when he keeps stifling you like that? So unless we teach you, we have to teach you some other tools, because you got one tool, and if I can stop that one, you don't have an uppercut. You can't make space. You can't sidestep. You can't do anything.
You need that jab. I'm saying that jab is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The first 10 rules of boxing is that goddamn jab. If you got a jab, you know what I'm saying? He got a crazy left hand too. He done knocked a lot of people out with that left, but it's just, I think Tyson Fury, like I said, was trained since he was a baby. He's named after Mike Tyson. His dad's a boxer. He gonna have a lot more, that where skills gonna pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? Deontay Wilder, he just has his brute force and brute strength to go off. That's what propelled him all the way to where he is. So he gonna keep doing what he's doing. And you right, I love the way you kind of the shit that I was thinking. I'm like, bro, why would you not allow Floyd Mayweather to train you like you pointed that out too, and you be making some good points on here, man. I'm gonna land my plane and everything, man. I'm enjoying the space in all your spaces, man. I thank you for all you do for the black media, and have a good night, brother.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, I don't know to this day. I'm not gonna put it on this woman when he was with her. I don't know why I don't know if it was pride. I don't know what the reason was why he wouldn't train with Mayweather. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But I think all of us who saw the first fight agreed, hey, bruh, you going to have some problems if you come back. You need to change the training regimen. And I don't see anything that showed he did. We know that Tyson Fury did. Now, he took it serious as hell. He went up there to Detroit and got trained by them dudes up there. He took it seriously. But in Deontay's case, everybody saw what the deficiency was. Hey, bruh, that one-trick pony is going. We all knew that Tyson Fury was getting a new trainer to specifically train for that damn right. Everybody and their mama knew that. Tyson Fury got a new trainer specifically to deal with that right. That's it. He's not training for anything else. He's training on how do you stop that right. And that's exactly what they did. That was it. That was it. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Khalil up here on Zoom. All right, we got Khalil here on Zoom. Khalil, what's on your mind? I'm waiting to hook up this audio here. This newfangled technology has kind of got them flummoxed. There you go. All right, Khalil, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
We got you, sir. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Yeah. What's up, JB, man? I appreciate everything that you do, man. One thing I would love to bring about that I don't remember where I was at during the George Foreman fight, but I do remember my dad actually buying the fight back in that day. And one thing I would like to bring up, though, was George Foreman commentating on HBO. And, like, his commentating was like, the absolute best, man. And when I think back to it, a lot of the corruption that went on and that actually transpired, he was the one that called it out right then on the spot. Jim Lampley and I got to give respect to Emmanuel Stewart too at that actual time, but like his commentating on the HBO was second to none, man. He actually transformed there when he actually left, they did like they gave him like a little ceremony, man. So, respect to George Foreman, man. Rest in peace to the brother, man. We will always love you. And I just got to give a shout out to that brother, man.
Yeah, very good point to make. We, as far as being able to do that also, because a lot of them for, mental health reasons, I say mental health, but, for CTE reasons and whatnot, they wasn't in no shape to do that. George Foreman he was in good enough shape that he left boxing and he could be his own brand person or whatever. Yes, Frazier, Ali, them cats, when they left the game, they weren't no condition to be able to do that. So certainly he did I don't think we've had anybody really who could commentate on boxing or anything like Foreman did. I don't think we've had anybody since, to be totally honest. I know we had some of them get by. I know Roy Jones has gotten out there, but I don't want to be, I love Roy, but you're right. We haven't had anybody who really could work the mic like that and speak in that manner. He was very authoritative, and, you can see that. I don't think we've had anybody who's been able to do it since.
Yeah, and another thing, man, I pay attention because I'm a boxing fan. I noticed, speaking to Roy Jones, who kind of takes some cues and everything from the actual style that George Foreman actually had, man. And I that's just something I really got to take my hat off to the brother and the other brothers that followed up. Sean Porter is another one who does a fairly decent job of commentating as well, too. So,
you raised a very good point there, incidentally, because when we watch football and basketball now, most of the commentating is done by folk who actually played the game. That's Boxing is who's commentating who actually was a boxer.
Yeah,
you got a bunch of people talking about boxing who never boxed. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to be that all the time, but wow, I just couldn't help but notice, hey, none of y'all behind that desk ever got in the ring, ever. So you have a sport that's being commentated on by people who never did it. Like it's 0%. I'm not saying it has to be 100% or even 50%, but 0% of you ever done it. I'm like, okay, this is where we at? This is where we are? Okay.
I want to ask you, man. I mean, for journalistic integrity, like we see a lot of people who talk about a lot of things that go on, and in this day and age, journalistic integrity is at an all-time low, man. I mean, do you really think? I mean, when we look at even things that go on politically, the journalistic integrity is not there anymore, man. And as we see it, and going back to George Foreman, during the actual fights, I remember there was a fight. I think Pernell Whitaker fought Cesar Chavez or something like that, and it was a draw. And I think it was that fight, and he kind of called it out, like, wait a minute, bro, like, did we just see what actually happened? There was another fight with Oscar De La Hoya where George Foreman called it out. The actual integrity to say, hey, man, right is right, wrong is wrong. This is what's going on in the ring. That just the journalistic integrity across the board, whether it's political or sports, has not been there, bro.
No, I mean, look, they're owned by whoever's broadcasting. I mean, we've always known boxing is dirty. You have a few guys who've been through there who weren't wholly owned subsidiaries of the place. George Foreman wasn't owned like that. He got in and got out, but for the most part, he wasn't owned like that. If you were mobbed up with Don King, you was pretty much owned. If you messed around with Oscar De La Hoya, you was pretty much owned. So you can see the cats who were owned. The commentators are all owned. They say what's told to them. And that's what I'm saying. When George Foreman came back, they're basically being told to talk that down and, to criticize that and say he ain't got a chance. So, yeah, I mean, it's a dirty game in that regard. So, and the ones who are on the outside of it can't really be bought off and be affected, they're very, very few and far between. Look, it's a stacked deck. It really, really is. So as far as commentating is concerned, you can only just take that with a grain of salt because, yes, they belong to the machine. And they're here to say what the machine got to say, not what's in your best interest as a viewer.
Man, yeah. And, man, I just kind of want to land my plane there, man. But, man, salute Deontay Wilder as well, man. I truck through Tuscaloosa all the time, man. And hey, Bomb Squad.
And I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Deontay. I'm a fan of Deontay. I got to call it what it is. It's just like, man, dude, if we could have worked on that weak spot, because you saw it was like 2 years before you came back. We had plenty of time to work on that. I don't know what the disconnect was where that wasn't it. But I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Man. But thank you, man. I appreciate that, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I mean, I'm absolutely a fan. I got nothing against Deontay. I'm a big fan of Deontay. Big fan of him. I'm a big fan of knockout artists. I've always been a fan of knockout artists. Don't get me wrong. I like dudes who are real, you like seeing a Mayweather from time to time. Points are one thing, but I like knockout artists. I've always liked that. The thing about Tyson was not that he was a knockout artist. He was so damn crisp with it. I mean, it was almost cinematic. Some folks get knocked out all the time and you didn't see what punch hit them. With Deontay Wilder, you know exactly what hit that dude. When Deontay knocked somebody out, you knew exactly what it was that hit him. It wasn't no phantom punch. It wasn't no, are you sure he got hit with Deontay? Oh, I saw that. Ooh, you saw that. Mike Tyson, you saw exactly what it was. Roy Jones Jr., you saw exactly what it was. So I've always respected people who were that crisp and that clear that you could see exactly what it was. It gives you a lot more respect for it when you can see exactly what it is. It's cool to have folks who went on points. It's cool to have people who do TKO, because you've had some TKO artists out there too. And I'm like, okay, I give respect to that where it's due. But if you want to know where my head's at, I'm a real knockout artist guy in that regard. So I respect Deontay. I respect him for being able to do that. A lot of cats out there, they want to be knockout artists. They try to be headhunters, and it doesn't turn out quite right. Because Tyson wasn't really about putting on no show. Some of these other people have been about putting on shows lately and didn't turn out quite so well. Not going to say no names, but, Mayweather can beat Madonna, and then you get in there and we trying to put on a show, and it might not go quite the same way. Hey, can we just knock this fella out and then dance later? Can we do that? No? All right. Let me know how it goes. All right, let me see if I can get JR up here on Zoom. JR, we're waiting for JR to get connected here. All right, JR, what's on your mind?
Yo, what's going on, Jason Black?
All right, brother.
Hey, just checking in here and see you're, giving a tribute here to George Foreman. Like I said, Olympic gold medalist, was able to be one of the most intimidating fighters in the 70s, mid 70s and everything like that. Came back in the 90s, was able to get the win over Michael Moore to become world champion at 45 years old. So he, definitely did his thing as, a fighter and one of the more recognizable fighters in the game when he did his thing in the 70s and the 90s. Those two eras pretty much defined the heavyweight division there, and everybody kind of like recognizes him as a top fighter in both of those eras for starters. And then, of course, we all know about the whole thing with the grill and everything like that. But it was more about what he did as a fighter that, makes him stand out. And you were talking about, with the last person that was on, as far as like journalistic integrity, and that George Foreman was one of the few that kind of like kept that integrity going on with HBO. He was there alongside Emmanuel Stewart, who has been one of the most well-known trainers in history that kind of like kept that integrity in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's good when you have that. And folks named Sugar Ray, Leonard and whatnot. And I'm not saying there wasn't other folk there, but as far as having that gravitas to it, I think Foreman was unique in that regard, especially with the breadth of history that he had, coming from where he came from. You can't buy that. We took off in the 80s and things, but where he came from the old school. Mm-hmm. He really was coming off them black and white TV days. So he came from the old school, he was there when the gloves started getting thicker. Yep. So he come from the old school. He has seen it as it evolved. So he had a rare insight into it. And also for his ability, a lot of guys, they could dance and move fast and stuff like that. Foreman knew what it was to throw blows. He knew what it was to have to deal with and overcome things, because he wasn't no quick dude. He wasn't a light on his feet dude. So he really had an insight in how to deal with overcoming fighters who were faster, fighters who were quicker, fighters who could throw flurries of punches. So he actually had an insight in overcoming those things. And I think that gave him the ability to see how to overcome stuff in more than one dimension. Something that a lot of people didn't have to deal with necessarily. Because when you're a Mike Tyson and just everything you do is fast, that peekaboo style, everything you do is fast. You can go from your knees to standing up in half a second. It's like that solves a lot of life's problems when you can do that right there. So it's like, how hard do you got to train when you can do that? Foreman had to actually think, okay, how do I deal with this? Because everybody's going to be faster than me, and a lot of them are going to move around more than me. So how do I do that and still win? In a lot of ways, people don't think about it. That's a thinking man's fighter.
Yeah, for sure. And he kind of like came from, the Sonny Liston, almost like the Sonny Liston era. He was pretty much like after Sonny Liston as far as like being an intimidating fighter. And he worked with Sonny Liston in the gyms there when he was coming up. So he became that next intimidating fighter there in the 70s. And like you said, he still had to be a thinking man's fighter because, with him, he was pretty much, stout, one of those tall fighters that just, threw punches with power and didn't necessarily move that much. So
didn't have to headhunt. The difference there is that George didn't have to headhunt. When as strong as he was, he focused on hitting that body. He just wanted you to hold still long enough so he can get that glove on you. Wherever it hits, it's going to be like a baseball bat. Wherever he gets you. So that was the thing there. Dudes are taught to bob and weave, and mostly they're thinking to protect their heads. And Foreman's like, oh, I'm going to get to the head later. We're going to bust you up and down here. I just got to keep you from moving. That was his thing. And a lot of fighters don't think that way. They figure he's big and slow and lumbering, and I'm going to just hit him all over and whatnot. And he wants you to think that. And did you realize now you're 6 rounds in and you still haven't knocked him out yet? Do you realize that that's occurring? Because he does. And then eventually you're going to be like, okay, I got to change up. Now he got you. You're going to change up what you do. He's not changing up what he's doing. He's going to get you.
Yep, eventually. And he had an underrated defense at times too, particularly in his second half of his career in the 90s, because he just, did a catch and shoot, so to speak, with a lot of the fighters that he went up against, whether it was like against the Holyfield or against the Michael Moore, where he did win that world title there once again against Moore. So
Well, they kept trying to draw him out.
Yeah,
that was what you
underrated.
just talked about. He's sitting up there shelling up on you, and you're trying to get him to come out. You're trying to get him to drop your guard, and you're doing a whole bunch of punching, trying to lure him into doing something, and he's not going to do anything. Let me tell you, he didn't care if folk booed or whatever. He's not going to do anything before he was ready to do it. That was a big difference right there. A lot of folk want to put on a show and thrill the crowd. George Foreman did never try to do that, especially in the 90s. He's like, thrilling this crowd's going to get me knocked out. I'm not going to do that. I don't give a damn how I'm taking it slow. What they say, you fighting the old man. Why? Because he's moving slower? Because he's taking his time? Because he's not rushing? He's not headhunting? No, he ain't doing none of that. And look who won. There's a lot that younger fighters could learn from that. Because one more thing, take a look at longevity of career. By the way, he fought some of the greatest, hardest hitters out there, and he was doing it into his 40s. These other cats ain't going to make it that far.
Yep.
At all. But by the way, with his mental faculties intact, no CT and all that stuff going on, there's a lot these younger fighters could learn from watching George Foreman, bro. There's a lot they could learn.
None. Like you're fighting Joe Frazier, you're fighting Muhammad Ali, Ron Lau. Then in the 90s, Vander Holyfield, Michael Morris, Shannon Briggs, among many others, and still have, all of those facilities intact. That's crazy, for something to think about there in the boxing game, but he was able to do it.
They could learn a lot, bro. They could learn a lot. I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, like I said, once again, props to George Foreman, of course, one of the great legends in the game. And of course, props to you to, giving him his tribute here. Cause, a lot of times, if you don't have people around our age bracket that remember him, what he did in the 70s and what he did in the 90s, they kind of remember him for the George Foreman grill. So you got to be able to remind people of what he did in those times and what he was able to do, from being an Olympic gold medalist to being a world champion in the 70s and in the 90s. So props to you on that, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I mean, look, if that worked for Foreman against guys in their 20s and 30s, why wouldn't that work for guys in their 20s and 30s against guys in their 20s and 30s? If that worked for Foreman in his 40s, why wouldn't that work for you in your 20s? I think a lot of guys are taught to be blood and guts, and they're young and they feel like they can take a million punches because, when you're early on, your brain hadn't been beat up that much. So a lot of them go out there and part of their fighting strategy is taking punches. Like all of us have seen some fighters, they want to go out there and prove that they got a jaw. So they let the press get to him. You talk about the journalistic integrity. They let the press get to him, and the press is, he ain't got a jaw. He can't take no punches. And so you end up going out there, and as men especially, we've all seen fighters who went out there and dropped their gloves and let dudes get punches off on them so that they could prove they could take a punch. I've seen it in MMA. I've seen it in boxing. And it's just like, this is what we're led to here when you let the damn peanut gallery lead things. So you got fellas who start incorporating taking punches into being part of their boxing strategy. Floyd Mayweather Jr. said, damn that. Floyd said, damn that. Yeah, I got a jaw, but taking punches is not part of my strategy. What I'm saying is that for those of you who know fighting, taking punches is part of a strategy of getting into position. Because if somebody is close enough to hit you, then you're close enough to hit them. So sometimes you have a strategy of, okay, if they're weak on one side or whatever, you'll eat a punch so that you can get off 2 or 3. So that becomes part of your strategy, is having a strong enough jaw so you can eat a punch or 2 so you can get off 1 big one or 2 or 3 ones. It's like, okay, well, I guess that's one way to do it, but boy, you're taking hella chances. Especially if you fight 10 fights in that style where part of your strategy is taking punches. Well, I got a jaw on me. Well, that's one thing to say that at 21. That's another thing to say that at 29. So there's risk involved in that. I'm thinking there's a lot to be learned. And think about this for a few moments. How much criticism has Floyd Mayweather Jr. gotten because, he ain't a knockout artist. He's not a headhunter. You've heard far more criticism of the way Mayweather fights than you have praise of it. And yes, we do need to put Mayweather Jr. in the GOAT conversation. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Floyd needs to be in that conversation. I don't see how you have a record like his and what he's done, and he's not in that conversation. Yes, it is not illegitimate. No, it is not disrespectful of Ali. Yes, Floyd need to be in that conversation. How the hell do you have a record like his and a skill set like his and a longevity like his, and he's not in the GOAT conversation? No, we ain't gonna do that. Really? What do you got to do to outdo Ali then? Okay, if Floyd ain't the GOAT, then what do you gotta do? How long you gotta fight? How many people you gotta beat? How undefeated do you have to be? I mean, I love Ali as much as anybody, but I'm just like, okay, are we just talking about straight boxing, or are we talking about as an icon? As an icon, Ali can't be touched. Are we having an icon conversation or a boxing conversation? I'm just like, okay, because if it's just straight boxing, well, just on the numbers, if you transferred his numbers over to Tyson, would you still say, no, he ain't the best ever? If Mike Tyson had a record like Mayweather's, would we still say this? It's a debate now. I don't know. We can say, really? Okay. Do we really want this to be the way we judge things? Let me go ahead and see if I can get Drew up here on Zoom. All right, Drew, I just need to make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me here. Just make sure we don't have any trolling issues. I'll give you 5 seconds to go ahead and get that started for me here. All right, we got Drew here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Drew?
How you doing, good brother, man? Been supporting you for over maybe a year and a half now, man. Talking boxing, you know I had to call in, man. You have a great platform, man. I really love and respect and appreciate what you do. So let's talk about George Foreman first. I was born in '75. A lot of stuff that I heard, because anybody that opposed Muhammad Ali, they were kind of like put off as like the enemy. But as you get a little older, you start to see things for what they are. Frazier was one of them. Space Foreman was the major one, because by the time Muhammad Ali got to Foreman, my parents told me, look, that was supposed to be like his death sentence. He was supposed to die that night, and he rope-a-doped him. And I got to watch George Foreman in his second half of his career. I had to do like I do homework on him, the infamous elevator match with him and Ron Lyle. Beautiful stuff. You go to see a boxing match and a fight breaks out. That was him versus Ron Lyle, man. It was a beautiful thing. Like 500 knockdowns between them. Lyle ran out of gas. Foreman, he displayed his heart. The man had a chin that lasted a lifetime, and his power maintained through his entire career. I remember being home watching him. I just when I was about to say, man, you know what? Michael Moore got this, man. He throws a 1-2. Moore was there for it. He threw it again, and he glassed him, man. It was just a beautiful work of art. He got down on his knees. He praised God, man.
I felt the same way, too, by the way. When I originally watched it, I felt the same way. You felt like Moore had it. You felt like he pretty much had it, and then just out of nowhere, that right came, and is he out? Really? That's what it was like.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable, man. It was a good time. But there's a few people in the chat that frequent I'm a boxing channel. So that again, I love having these conversations, man. Journalistic integrity. I'm so glad you said that, because I call out boxing journalists on a daily basis. They don't like us on social media because I don't get a paycheck from the big media guys, boxing scene and these guys. I freelance and I get press credentials, and I can I'm not tied to that. I'm not on anyone's payroll. I do this for me. And when I'm in front of the fighters, I ask questions if they let me. An example of journalistic integrity is you mentioned Deontay Wilder. I'm actually close to the camp. Let's say that. I know Deontay.
Why did he not change things up when it was so glaringly obvious to even to those of us who don't know how to box? Hey, bro, you need to change up. You're a one-trick pony. Why didn't he patch that up?
It's a lot to unpack, Jason. But I'll tell you this. We see the deficiencies, but he had to let go a lot of people in this camp because they weren't doing right by him. For those that follow my channel, and I say that name, Mark Breland, y'all know what I'm talking about. He had a lot of backstabbers from people not telling him the right thing to do, from people taking money from him. You understand? And then you find out later that the thing with Telly, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. Another thing I want to point out is that it's kind of difficult to call him a one-trick pony and that he doesn't know how to box for him to get that far. Tyson Fury, let me just point this out, is a known cheater. All right. And I want people in the chat that, I know there's going to be people saying I'm making excuses or whatever, but I challenge you to Google a man named Daniel Kennedy and then ask yourself, why can't Tyson Fury darken the doorstep of American soil ever again? Ask yourself that. Well, don't ask yourself, I'll tell you. Tyson Fury was in bed with an Irish mobster who owned MTK Global. That was a boxing company, right? MTK Global was rounding up all these UK fighters. All right. He yanked a bunch of fighters from a guy named Barry McGuigan, right? And he was literally bullying himself into the sport of boxing to wash his gun and drug money. If you think I'm lying, look it up. And one of the people that he's good friends with is Mr. Tyson Fury. And
okay, well let me jump in there for just a moment because I'm not going to discount that at all. Okay.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Here's the argument that I'm going to make against that, and I mean you can demolish it if you want to. But the argument, I'm not going to argue that Tyson Fury is a totally clean fighter because who in the world is? What I'm going to say is that in the fights with Deontay Wilder, were any shenanigans significant enough that they overcame anything? There's the real thing. Not were there some shenanigans, but was there anything significant that without that he wouldn't have won? I think that's an uphill fight to argue.
Okay, let's go through all three fights. First fight, the long count. Jack Reese.
Now that one, that's no question. No question.
Okay.
So that wasn't cheating. That
two.
Was just a senile referee or whatever. That's boxing, I guess. I should just say that's boxing right there. So just whatever in the hell that was, we all saw that. Okay. We can move on to the next one.
Okay, fight two. I'm just going to flat out tell you he was drugged. I'm going to flat out tell you that. I'm going to flat out tell you the brother was drugged. The brother was drugged.
You talking about Deontay?
Yes, he was absolutely drugged. You don't know about the tampered water incident.
I heard about it, but I'm just like,
Well, and another thing was Fury took padding out of his gloves, which is why he had a flesh carved out of his ear. He was hitting him with the wrist, and actually, in the first fight, his glove wasn't permanently affixed either. We didn't catch it until the second fight. We went back and saw it. You know who did see it? A fighter by the name of Charles Martin. He pointed it out in the interview. We went back and we said, oh, crap. His glove is like hyperextended. His fist was in the wrist of his gloves. We all have the picture of it. And nobody did anything about it because those refs and those judges was bought off. Now, I know people might be saying that this is BS, but we debunked all of this stuff. The thing is, Deontay got the wrong complexion for the protection, and all the evidence was swept under the rug. They did it to him, and you mentioned. Well, let me go on.
I'm not going to say. Let me just interject real quick, and then you can go on. I'm not saying that that's legitimate because it damn sure isn't. I'm just saying, okay, is that Tyson Fury cheating, or is this a crooked system?
He's taking advantage of the crooked system. Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. He's taking advantage of the crooked system. Now, this guy, Daniel Kennedy, right? He was working with Bob Arum, which is WBO. He was working with Mauricio Suleiman, WBC. And when people told him, yo, this guy is a known drug and gun trafficker from Ireland, Mauricio Suleiman said, I'm not judging him off what Interpol and the FBI has on him. I'm judging him off of what he does for boxing. Literally a week after he said that, America put a $5 million bounty on that man's head. And they revoked it. He can't move. He's still at large. And because all of those fighters, MTK Global was affiliated with Daniel Kinahan, MTK Global no longer exists. And a lot of the fighters that worked with MTK Global could not come to the US of A. Tyson Fury is one of them. And he still can't come here because of that. ESPN never mentions that. And that's what we're talking about, journalistic integrity. They never mention that. And I am not lying. Everyone can Google it. Tyson Fury will never darken the doorstep of America. He had property in Vegas. It has tumbleweeds in front of it now. That's a fact. Unless someone sold it. That's a fact. He's not allowed here anymore. Now, leading up to Wilder Fury 3, they were on track. The fight was supposed to happen in July. And what ended up happening was he said he caught COVID. Jared Anderson, Jared Anderson, Big Baby Anderson was in the camp. We were asking him because Tyson Fury said, we caught COVID. There's COVID going through the camp. We have to discontinue the camp. We have to push the fight back. People have to cancel plane tickets and hotel rooms. Okay, we got to cancel the fight. Well, we got to postpone the fight. Okay, we was still around the pandemic. We asked Jared Anderson, do you have COVID? And he didn't want to answer the question, right? That weekend, when they stopped the camp, Joseph Parker, the boxer, he was cited at a UFC event, and people asked him, hey, man, you was in Tyson Fury's camp. I thought you had COVID. He just stared at the reporter saying, what? I don't have COVID. And by the time they went to go talk to Fury, he was on the airplane back to the UK. He avoided VADA testing. And then when he got back, all right, the fight was postponed till, I think, October. So then before I fly out to Vegas, I got word, I think 2 days before the fight, that they changed the ref of the main event. So I contacted the team. I said, did you guys know that? They didn't know that. Then he said, okay, well, he got to go and throw. And I'll be damned, Deontay dropped Tyson Fury in the fourth round twice. And I want you to go back and look at that count. And once again, that same referee had some crap with him too. Oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. I forget his name. But that's the same referee. I want you guys to look up a fight between Abner Mares and oh my God. I forgot who we fought. But there was like 50 low blows. And that referee didn't call it. Right? And that's the referee that got the assignment for the heavyweight championship of the world. And they switched them 2 days before the damn main event. And then, oh my God, there's just so much to unpack. They tried to pull some nonsense with the gloves then. So then, Jason, I ain't got enough time in a day. But on my channel, I talked about all of that. I talked about fighters being poisoned. It's been going on for years. And when people say, oh, Wilder wasn't poisoned, you don't poison water. After Wilder Fury 2, I have a clip that I play on my channel a lot where Tyson Fury is sitting next to Shelly Finkel on the podium, and his cousin offers him a bottle of water. He asked him, where'd this water come from? He said, right there, and he refused the water. When he went to the UK and fought Dillian White, someone handed him a bottle of water. He asked him, have you had this on you the whole time? Are you sure? Before he opened it. What I also want to point out is the real Tyson Fury that you've seen that wasn't drugged up was his last three fights, the two against Alexander Usyk and the one against Francis Ngannou. Now, how does this guy that was so dominant at 6'9" with all these above average boxing skills, how does he get knocked on his behind by an MMA guy who has a limited skill set in boxing? And people say he lost that fight. But never mind that, he gets in there with Alexander Usyk, and Usyk boxes his face in. You know why? He was not on drugs. I also want to point out that the Prince of Saudi, Turkey Al-Sheikh, he told Deontay what happened. Because he got word on it. And that's why I want to shout out Turkey Al-Sheikh, because he's not for the games. It's a fair playing field. You get what you put out over there. You come in there clean fighter, and you're going to see what you can do. Journalistic integrity. The other thing I want to point out, good brother.
Well, before you say that next part there, just interject, just hold your thought, don't lose it. But what did you say about Tyson Fury against Usyk? We've all known that Tyson Fury has admitted that he's had issues with substance abuse. It's been off and on, and just to be fair, there's been a fair amount of allegations. You say he wasn't on drugs. Actually, there's been a fair amount of allegations that maybe he started slipping up again and started ingesting and started getting high again and whatnot. Since he's got money started coming in and whatnot, that he may have slipped back into some old habits. So I would be remiss if I didn't say, well, there's that side of the version of the events too, which either which way I think is equally plausible. He's had issues he's been fighting with for a while.
He's been drunk in public at least 2 times that I've gotten video of. At least, he's fallen out and he's been escorted out of clubs and tumbling in the street in front of his dad. It's a nightmare. This guy is also a glove cheat. He tried to cheat Christian Hammer a few years ago. He detached the thumb on his glove, and they had to call time to the action before the fight started. This guy's a career drug cheat, a career equipment cheat. Nicholas Asbury was in his camp, and Nicholas whooped on him the first day. The next day he came back. He said the punches didn't feel the same, and then he checked his gloves, and there was an egg weight in the gloves. And he also there was also padding removed, and the video's on YouTube. Nicholas Asbury put the video up on YouTube, and they tried to scrub it. Too late. We all saw it, and I have it. And salute to Nicholas Asbury. Let me go back to what I was saying about journalistic integrity. Old media, guys like Steve Kim and Dan Raphael and Mike Coppinger, we call him Cappinger. These are the guys that allow a guy like Ryan Garcia to breathe instead of holding him accountable. I don't understand how, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but this is all relevant when you say journalistic integrity, because I'm going to bring it back to George Foreman. Ryan Garcia went on a whole racist tirade. He had a complete meltdown, all because he was caught cheating. He took 5 drug tests and he failed all of them. And when all else failed, he wants to resurrect George Floyd and delete him again and join the Ku Klux Klan. And he hates Muslims. He says F all black people. And when I'm looking at that, I don't understand, or do I, why old media did not hold him accountable. But myself and a couple of my brothers and sisters, a few of us, get online on YouTube and we hold his feet to the flames. And I still get these super raccoons saying, oh, he's not a racist, he's just having problems. We don't have that luxury. Ask Kyrie Irving. All he did was say, look at that documentary. And then they tried to take his NBA career, and he had to pay the Jewish community money and take some sensitivity courses. My brother Devin Haney, another camp that I'm very close to, all he said on my other brother's channel was, I'll never let a white boy beat me. He was talking about Vasily Lomachenko. The next day, there was a virtual lynch mob for him. But Ryan Garcia gets to say that. And Devin Haney is the one that got cheated. Ryan Garcia popped dirty like 5 times. And Devin Haney is the one that was done an injustice. And a lot of you cats, they just stick up for that kid. Wow, you like his hair? I mean, black people, man, we got problems. But let me bring it back to George Foreman. George Foreman's last broadcast on HBO was Roy Jones Jr. versus Johnny Ruiz. At the end of that fight, round 12, Johnny Ruiz needed to land a bomb because he got smoked the whole fight. And salute to Johnny Ruiz. He's been on my show. Jim Lampley sat there with Larry Merchant and said, well, I guess Roy knew what heavyweight to pick on because everyone else was out of reach. George Foreman stood in the pocket and said, don't do that. People done paid their money to see this fight. All fight long, they kept saying, all John has to do is land one, because they didn't like Roy Jones. They didn't like black excellence. In fact, that's why HBO boxing collapsed, because they want to put this European invasion on there. Guys like Dmitry Pirog came through, the Klitschko's came through, Sergey Kovalev came through, Lomachenko came through, and they put all these, Gennady Golovkin, you name it, they put them there. And we had all this black talent there. George Foreman stood in the pocket and told them that, and magically that was his last broadcast there. Next thing you know, they're having the Klitschko shoved in our face, and Pirog and all these other guys from Who Gives an Epicstand from over there, the European invasion. And you had Floyd Mayweather. But y'all chose to put guys, foreign people. Then that's when you built this Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather thing. I was talking with the brother in the chat, and salute to you, Thanos is right. But I beg to differ. That Manny Pacquiao Floyd Mayweather thing didn't happen for 5 years, and it was Manny Pacquiao's fault. And I have so much evidence on that. But people believe what he wants. People believe what they want to believe because Manny, good guy, Christian. Floyd, bad guy, young black man,
the media painted that as, Floyd Mayweather delaying it. So, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. It's disgusting. They'll tell you that Floyd Mayweather's style is boring, but these same people, these boxing historians, will tell you Willie Pep won a round of boxing without throwing a punch. That must have been boring. So those same guys will tell you that Floyd Mayweather was not exciting. These same guys will tell you Vasily Lomachenko was the matrix, the speed, the angles, as if we didn't see Pernell Whitaker. They told us Vasily Lomachenko was the greatest. Bob Arum said he's the greatest thing since he said, I haven't seen anything since Muhammad Ali, anything like this since Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. As if we didn't see Floyd Mayweather and Pernell Whitaker, right? And then this guy messes around and loses his second pro fight. And then they want to act like we didn't say it. I've seen him put his record up when he was like 10-0, and they removed the loss. He lost to a Mexican journeyman. You guys, they'll have you guys thinking that he was undefeated. And I have evidence of that. And I talk about that all the time. So when we say journalistic integrity, there is none. Realistically, people come to YouTube to get boxing news.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you, a lot of people in the chat, they don't know. But I do this. All my brothers, we do this. And I salute George Foreman. And I said, did y'all even realize that was George Foreman's last broadcast? And that's not the first time they did that. Andre Ward used to share the broadcast. You mentioned a lot of these guys calling fights. They never fought like in the ring. Well, they had Andre Ward when he was still active. Andre Ward was calling out Gennady Golovkin. They said, Andre, stop calling out Gennady Golovkin. You're at 168. He's at 160. You're being a bully. But why don't you go up and fight Sergey Kovalev, who's an open racist, the Russian killer Kovalev. And you know what he did? He said, I will. He went up and beat up on Sullivan Barrera, and then he fought Kovalev twice. He got dropped in the first round. He came back and whooped on him. They said Kovalev got robbed. He fought him in an immediate rematch, beat him, and people kept saying, oh, he hit Kovalev low. You can't win for losing, and that's why HBO boxing died. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, people don't go to cable for sports anymore, certainly not sports commentary. Hell, the only ones who are relevant from there had to come to the internet if you want to listen to if you want to be tortured by Stephen A. Smith. But, I mean, absolutely, people are getting their analysis from the internet because they know it's very unlikely you all are bought, you all have authenticity. That's the difference between cable television and the internet, amazingly enough. You're not making a bunch of money over here. You have to do it because you love it because you ain't making a bunch of money. The other folks there, right. they're saying whatever they're told to say. So you all bring a level of authenticity that you just can't get anywhere else. You either love it and you do it or you ain't. Now, if it turns out you don't know anything, because it's open source, people can call it out if it sounds like that. Just one brief thing about Ryan Garcia. I think he made a very good point about that as well. Once again, Ryan is doing the most. He's been on a bunch of drugs. I'm not saying that explains the racist part. That's separate and apart. That's not a drug issue. That's a white supremacy issue, not a drug issue. But when you take a look at what happened with him and Canelo, I think that's the real reason why his boxing career is pretty much over. Whatever Canelo knows, it's like he I don't know if he was on drugs so much that he just wasn't training like he should or whatever. But Canelo, when he pulled out on him, I'm like, that was the end for me. I'm like, okay, the golden boy is over before you even got started. Canelo don't pull out on you for nothing. When I saw that, I'm like, yeah, you're fundamentally flawed. You ain't coming back.
He's back at the Reynoso gym because the kid's gonna cheat again. He's gonna try and cheat again. Eddie Reynoso, longtime trainer Canelo Alvarez, he has about 4 fighters in his camp that pop dirty. Ryan Garcia didn't pop over there, but he's back over there. And he enlisted the help of another trainer. I forget his name. I just did a video on him, who's also a drug cheat. He's a former weight trainer, a strength and conditioning coach, and he's a drug cheat. And he hired the services of this guy. And I said, oh my God, he's going to cheat again. He's going to get caught again. It's not about titles for him. It's about him just winning, and especially here they done lost to Tank Davis. He can't lose to 2 black men in a row that are in the public eye like that. And I'm gonna land the plane right there.
I don't think it helps him though. I think he's just taking so many other things, cocaine or whatever he's on. I think he's taking so much of that he's just an undisciplined person. So juicing him up isn't overcoming his lack of discipline in these other areas. If all he was taking was steroids, he'd probably be okay. He taking steroids and a bunch of other stuff.
True story. I'll land the plane there, Jason. Man, you do brilliant work. Deontay's going to be back, I believe, in June. He's coming back in June. So I don't know against who. I don't know exactly where, but be on the lookout for Deontay. He'll be back in June. And you do wonderful work, brother.
Okay, let everybody know where your YouTube channel is.
Oh, I could be found. My name is in the chat, Drew Titan LLC. That's Drew Titan LLC. I got a lot of hate, but hate for me is love. Because they don't like me because I tell the truth. And the truth will set you free.
Thank you very much for checking this, brother.
Jason, man. Much love. Thank you.
All right, thank you for weighing in. I always like somebody who knows what they're talking about. I am not a boxing expert by any stretch of the imagination. You all already know that right there. I've stretched my brain in other areas there, but I try to keep as knowledgeable and abreast of what I can. It's just I try to learn a little bit about everything. So, yeah, like I say, there's a lot going on. Look, boxing is a dirty business. It always has been. Just ask Jack Johnson. Boxing is a dirty business. Hell, professional sports is a dirty business. It's talk about regulations, man. Get out of here. If you still believe in Santa Claus, if you believe that there's a clean sport, then you obviously still believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. You believe Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny are driving a 6'9" Impala down La Brea. So, I mean, it is what it is in that regard. So I don't try to be in denial of it. I understand it. I see it, and that's why I give props to the brothers who've been able to overcome that. I give props to the ones who have been able to thrive in such a contaminated, polluted environment. I give props to them for that. Because let me tell y'all something. If you a black man and you get it, you got it straight. Ain't nobody giving us nothing. They letting everybody cheat and drug up or whatever. If you black and you got it, you earned it. That's the way that works. Everybody else can cheat and okay, you come on through. No, if you black and you get it, you earned it. You go ask Marion Jones and anybody else, if you try to cheat, watch what happens to you. You can't be black and cheating. They're gonna come back and say, oh, we got the goods on you. We got them on you. You ain't gonna be able to do that. Shout out to George Foreman. Like I say, we will never see their like again. We will never see their like again. If you were lucky enough to have witnessed it, if you were lucky enough to have been a part of it, if you were fortunate enough to have lived in this lifetime and seen it, then you've been blessed to be able to witness the history, to say how you experienced how it changed the culture and changed the environment around you. You were blessed and lucky to be able to see that and witness it. And hopefully it inspires you and yours that if he could come from Marshall, Texas, he can come from them streets with all the odds against you and he was still able to make a way out. You got your chance too. You and your children and your grandchildren for eternity. You've got yours. Let that be your example. And don't let it stop here. We have an obligation to uphold this. Don't let it stop here. And don't let anybody tell you these things are dead. These things are going to be right where we left them. We are what makes the world go round. We are what makes these things viable. We are what makes these things hot. They're only talking about it because we are involved. If we leave, then it's dead. Long as we there, it's popping. Long as it's there, it's popping. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who's contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, my man Ayo. Thank you very much for your support tonight. We appreciate that. Also here to Aquarius Minded. Thank you very much for your support. Miss SF Black, how anyone can call Fury a boxing great after arguably losing to an MMA fighter, making his boxing debut is laughable. All right. Well, I said it's Mr. SF Black. What am I talking about? Alamo Andretti, thank you very much for your support. Taryn Vaughn, Brother Alan, Sir Shy in the house. I am Waffles. Thank you all very much for your support tonight. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button. Click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank you all for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, Black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.